Welcome back, everyone, to today's coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge from Whiteland Raceway Park in Whiteland, Indiana. The season finale continues here on this early November morning. Justin Prince alongside Caleb Vieska as we get set to get ready to the racetrack once again for the start of our heat portion of the day today. 206 Supermasters, Micro Mini, 206 Heavy, KA Junior, 206 Light are all due up part of this morning's rotation of races. And Caleb, we've seen in qualifying some close battling, some close times to set up track position. Now we look to see how they do in the 5 minutes plus 2 laps of racing.
Yeah, it's a whole different beast, right? I mean, we already saw the qualifying sessions. That's just to really see how fast you are over 1 lap pace, but you have to fight and race wheel to wheel around this racetrack that's going to promote some great racing. And we're going to be, excited to see how it all turns out. And already to run you down your starting lineup here, William McLaughlin was the driver who put it on the pole position. Tom Harleman in the 18 qualified alongside him in the front row. Danny Cutshaw starting third. Richard Lowe, your top 4. You go back to row number 3 with Jason Irvin and Travis Wilbur there. Tom Stevens, Joseph Stevens, and a couple of others as well, getting set to take the green flag here in this heat race. But I mean, like I said here, Justin, it's a whole different ball game, right? You can go you can go quick over 1 lap, but you have to race wheel to wheel now against some of the best in the business.
The rest of your starters, by the way, 9th place, Mike Bokert, then Richard Lemasters, John Dorsey, Mark Kirk, and Chris Whitaker amongst the starters today. The field's still trying to sort itself out here. There's a lot of separation right now on the racetrack. So this is going to take a moment or so for them to get truly sorted together, you'd have to think. Yeah, there's karts on the other side of the racetrack still in this queue, so it looks like we're going to go an extra pace lap.
Yeah, everybody else kind of spread out throughout this racetrack, and that's one of the, one of the hardest but easiest parts of the day. I mean, everybody getting out there on time. Of course, these 206 engines can take a while to start, and I know it's a lot colder out there at Whiteland, Indiana than where we are now, but again, a reminder to everybody in the paddock, if you are wearing a hoodie under your suit, well, one driver way off the racetrack there, Justin, into the grass. But like I was saying before I got interrupted there, if you are wearing a hoodie under your suit, please tuck in your hood. Don't need anything to happen, again, for insurance reasons. So again, please be sure to tuck in your hoods for those of you in the paddock. And what a way to start off this Super Masters race before it even starts. One driver in the grass already with issues, so unfortunate there.
By the way, today's weather, it's pretty chilly. It is 40 degrees Fahrenheit right now out in Whiteland, Indiana. Is expected to get to 61 by the mid-afternoon, but it is cold out there and brisk. We've seen a lot of people spin around on the straightaways today with the cold tires in qualifying too. So it looks like we're just about ready to get to some racing here. McLaughlin should say, and Harleman on the front row. And off and away we rumble, it looks like here. Green flag is out, we're underway as they make their way through the first sector. Try and sort themselves out, try and get themselves a clean launch through and run through all the way to the bank curve.
Already a good start for a couple, and again, this is the opening lap is where you're really going to start to find your groove and find your bit of real estate out there on the racetrack, and it seems like the top 3 have really just kind of broken away from the rest of the pack here early on, Justin.
Yeah, great launch, especially for McLaughlin, Harlan and company, as they now make their way through Sector 3. This is going to be a tough spot for some of the passes today, especially with the quick flick from the passing section all the way to more of the up and flow areas we've seen in previous rounds. But first minute just about off the board already. First people coming across the stripe. Tom Harleman leads over McLaughlin. Richard Lowe is up to third. Everybody else losing a fair bit amount of time, including Danny Cutshaw and company. Tom Stevens at least another 4 seconds back in fifth.
Yeah, that was a really big jump there at the start from Harleman, who started in second. It seemed like he had the run he needed, and whenever he got the move done there, McLaughlin definitely didn't look back. His opening lap was about a second quicker than the rest of the field, so a really good start there for Harleman. And now it seems like McLaughlin's starting to get into his groove, drops down his gap to about a car length here. Top two, league of their own almost, with just over 3 minutes to go left in this one.
Still making their way through. It's about, so far today, 1 minute a lap. It seems it's going to be the tempo for this layout today. Right now, Harleman still holds on, but the fastest lap of the race set last time by McLaughlin to close up the gap significantly to the back end of some of these competitors. They have built up near 4 seconds, the top two has now from everybody else. Of note, the 5 has had issues. You've seen the safety crews checking on one of the drivers. That's the situation it appears there. But your race leaders, they stay separated by 5 kart lengths this time for Sector 3.
Yeah, and again, I mean, take a look at the lap times here for your top two. A 56.274 the last time around for Harleman, and a 55.625 for McLaughlin. And you go back to your third place driver in Lowe, who's only running 57.7s. So that's a big spread throughout this field and a big spread throughout lap times, which is why you're kind of seeing Harleman and McLaughlin continue to pull away from the rest of this field. And that gap going to grow even more with the burners that these two drivers just put in. The Top Kart USA machine there in second. Quickest on the racetrack at 55.263. So they continue to make up some really good time here in this one.
Kind of sets the tone for the final later on today, possibly as well, as you see them start to deal with some of the traffic. That's going to close the gap up significantly. McLaughlin bumping the back end of Harleman, trying to push him along past some of the traffic. And now they stay lockstep with under 90 seconds to go on the clock, plus the lap to add on to it. McLaughlin providing a lot of pressure for Harleman, not a lot of room to breathe or make a mistake at this point.
Yeah, about 2 car lengths in between those two drivers, and you bring up a good point here. I mean, for Harleman in this 206 class, we see how how taxing a mistake in this class, and with such low speed, how a mistake in this class could really hurt you more than it could benefit you, to say the least here. So he's going to have to play it smart here, because McLaughlin has a lot of pace to pull away if Harleman does end up making a mistake. So going to have to keep it perfect, and there you have it. Move on the inside. McLaughlin, your new leader.
From the best passing opportunity all day today for the racetrack, McLaughlin able to jump up to the race lead and now has 30 seconds left of the clock coming up this time by. Harleman having to regroup and fast, has lost a couple kart lanes, trying to get the speed back up and get lined back up in the draft. We'll see if Harleman's able to try and battle back here as McLaughlin runs away.
Yeah, that gap now opens up to about 2 car lengths in between McLaughlin and Harleman. So we'll see if Harleman can really hold on for the rest of this race. But I tell you what here, Justin, that Top Kart USA machine is on rails, keeping Harleman at bay here as they get onto this back straightaway.
See a lot of the separations. This has been, for these two, lightning quick racing today. The clock has reached all zeros though. Expecting the 2 laps now coming up this time by. Coming to 2 laps to go. More traffic. Zork in front, and that's going to check up the leader a little bit. McLaughlin trying to move to the right of lap traffic. Couldn't get by, and the lap traffic is fighting it. That is not what you usually expect to see.
And he's still struggling there behind the lap traffic of what almost seems to be Kirk there, who sits in 10th. So they've definitely caught up. It looked like McLaughlin was able to get through now, but they lost a whole lot of time on the racetrack. Didn't lose position, though. McLaughlin's still your leader. Harleman still in second. So as it proceeds, it seemed like McLaughlin really benefited from the whole thing here. That gap opens up to a big margin coming to the white flag.
Coming to the white flag this time by here, McLaughlin looking to close out what's been a interesting one for this class today for the Racing. McLaughlin before today, highest finish, second in the midseason during the summer months. Final time around for the heat race for the 206 Supermaster. Can he close it out strong? Can he keep it more than a second is the question as they look to close out this run to the checker flag.
Final lap underway here. McLaughlin continuing to hold on. And you see that gap there. And this is really, I mean, Justin, what we see in 206 racing time and time again from what you've been to at the grassroots level and from what we've seen across the national level as well this year. Drives like this and incidents like that can really allow people to pull away here. But McLaughlin kept his nose clean. He was perfect all the way through. Coming to the main straightaway now, going to be your winner and qualifying on the pole going into the main event later on today.
William McLaughlin gets it done over Harleman. Sizable gap by more than 8 seconds to Lowe. Cutshaw in fourth. And my goodness, for the rest of the interval, fifth, more than 20 plus seconds to Stevens. They come across the stripe right here to celebrate a top 5 finish in this one. So, an interesting race so far as the rest of the grouping comes across the stripe here from the 5th on backpack in this group. Your thoughts on what we've seen as we take a look at the results on screen?
I mean, it was a good race, right from start to finish. I think the biggest story out of that one was Harleman has a little bit to find. It could be gearing, it could be tire pressure, it could be a lot of things. Tire pressure has a lot to do, especially on a weekend like this where it's so cold. So he's going to have to find something and pull something out of the bag to really try and contend with McLaughlin, who is really in a league of his own. And again, Harleman's going to have to pick his way through lap traffic as well in the main event, and he's going to have to go through more of that. So picking and choosing and where you're going to make your moves, where you're going to make your good moves is going to be important for Harleman getting into that main event. So we'll see how it all plays out there. But McLaughlin, again, showing he's superior. So the rest of the field here going to qualify on the pole going into the main event later on today.
And one thing to note, there was an announcement made during that race. We've seen the one extra flying lap added. It's not a surprise, but drivers will get one.
Cold turkey was a good one there. Considering, one, this is a turkey race, and two, it is pretty cold. So that was a good one there, Justin, as our next group starts to head out onto the racetrack now. That will be your your micros that head out onto the racetrack for the first of their heat races. They were running together early on in the morning warm-ups. Going to split them up now. So the youngest drivers, well, I should say the second youngest drivers that we'll see here in the morning run group, your micros ranging from ages just about some starting as early as 6 years old up to 10 years old. So young superstars, you could say.
Here's how they qualified earlier on today. James Fox set a 57.115 to set the pole over Grayson Waite. Then Patrick McNeely qualified third out of the grouping. Then Mateus Guzman and Diesel Maxwell put up a 1:1:11. So something happened to Maxwell's qualifying run. Regardless, that's how the 5 look to get sorted out here on the racetrack as they warm up their tires to get themselves prepared for the racing. Now, how has the championship looked for that series so far? Well, Regan Hodges, she has been leading the points most of the season. Not here in round 11. Not here, it looks like, today for the Micro Swift for that respective class. That might open up the door for Patrick McNeely if he gets a max points day, because it's 2,394 points for Hodges, 2,176 for McNeely. The thing is, second place would not technically be enough potentially. It might come down to a win, and we have Karts having to come to a full stop for the double up lines here.
Yeah, again, your youngest driver is going to get slowed down here. And I think, yeah, that's a good call. Again, a lot of young drivers, some of these drivers making their first start here in Micro Swift. I know Diesel Maxwell just competed out at Cup Karts North America in the Kid Kart class, so good to see him out now in Micro. But that being said, green flag in the air. Fox out to the lead early.
Off to a quick and early start as they rumble their way through the first sector. Lots of smoke pumps being kicked up. At least one kart, Maxwell believes, starting to lose ground immediately. But the top two trying to set the tone and run away early, as all of them try and get in their small packs sorted out amongst this group.
So your top two, their gap starts to close down. It's about a kart length now. Looks like a Kart Republic there. That's in the fourth spot, and not too sure on the kart in third, but they get bobbled up there a little bit on the curb. You're going to lose a whole lot of time to your top two. What looks to be Wait and Fox, and again, their gap opens up as well. Differences in lines, and again, it seems like these drivers, again, quite young, and you can tell with how they sit in the seat there, Justin, and where their foot position is as well. So from what we've seen, I mean, again, a little bit of a younger group in this Micro Swift class, but good to see a lot of drivers already moving up. Again, the Indy Kart Challenge holds a really cool program with their Kid Kart program that will be on later on today. But for all these young drivers, it's really cool to see them progress. And these are some of the stars that we'll talk about, when we get to the big national series. I know Joe Janowski, who runs this Indy Kart Challenge, his national series as well continues to be so successful with the Stars Championship Series, and we'll see how that kind of plays out for these young drivers. Hopefully we see them next year for the Stars Championship Series. Again, last little bits of rounds set to be announced. I believe round 3, the only round still left to be announced. But on the racetrack, still a good start of the race for Wait here and Fox. The top two continuing to break away and show that to be the class of the field.
It's been sort of that tone during these races. We'll see one seen throughout the season where you'll see the top two break away. Might see a bit of battling, so to speak. We've seen that with Light Subanowic last time out in round 10. For reference, Diesel Maxwell picked up the win in round 11 last time out. But right now, it's just about getting seat time. Seat time is critical at this age. And keep in mind, for your leader in Grayson, it's his first start of the season in this class. And so far, has looked to set the tone at least in the class as we keep an eye on some of the other karts around this track.
Yeah, again, keeping an eye here. You talked about Diesel Maxwell. He sits in fifth. And again, it could also be a lot of things. With layouts changing every single week, it's what you're more comfortable to and what you can adapt to as well. But for Wade, I mean, talk about adapting. He's definitely done so. 2/10 clear of the field so far in this Micro Swift heat race. A 54.617 for Wade the last time around and a 54.851 for Fox. So those gaps pretty significant here early on. And I mean, 2/10 is a lot lap by lap. That's going to, accumulate to about a second or more than that as well as this race continues to progress on.
Continuing to zoom on with under 90 seconds to go here as the sun continues to try and shine above the racetrack. Still plenty of time to rumble around and still plenty of time to go. I will say with this layout today, it could provide some intriguing moments because this is the same layout they use for the Sunset Finals coming up that happened the past week for the races that take place in the evening, usually in the past week. So there is some overlap for those who compete in that side, at least for today. But this is a racetrack where at least we've seen this section right here on that we're seeing on picture for those watching along the Kart Chasers broadcast in Sector 3. That area seems to be the best section for passing, at least to me at least. But the problem is, it's about how that layout is that changes how you get the pass done if you're close together.
Yeah, and again, drafting up at the back of that straightaway is going to be one of the key things, right? It all starts there in turn one, and then hitting your marks throughout these fast sweeping corners here that we just saw those two drivers go through, and then setting it up on the banking on the back straightaway, which is this corner here that kind of takes you up and almost slingshots you on the back straightaway. It's super critical to really hit your marks and be there when it counts, because that's going to set up the biggest passing opportunities here down this back straightaway. And like you said, making moves down the inside and really being able to pinch off another driver in the next corner as well is one of the key things here. So we'll see how the racing kind of goes. But already we've seen a couple of previews with that with the Masters, with the Super Masters. Again, their pass for the lead of the race was in that corner. So we'll see how it kind of plays out for these young drivers. But time is up here. 2 sticks in the air this time around. 2 laps to go. Wait. Still leads the field away.
2 more circuits as we look to see how things close out. Wait has been the dominant kart much of the way. Fox trying to battle it out still, though. Last time by, Fox had the faster of the 2 laps as we see those 2 karts zip their way forward. Believe there might have been a shuffle amongst those karts, though. Seen Wait open up the door a fair bit, and it slowed down a fair bit. Now we'll see what happens for the final time around. That first sector seen a big shuffle. It seems on the pylon. Fox now up in front. Now looking to try and run away late. Wait had a buffer of a near second at one point in this race, and now they come up to the white flag this time by. Final time around, Fox now up by a second himself.
Yeah, what a change of events here, Fox. Goodness gracious, out of nowhere puts himself to the top now, but again, Wait looks to be setting up a really good passing opportunity here coming to the back straightaway. A car length separates the 2 top drivers. We'll see if Wait can go here on the inside on his back straightaway. Going to have to be a late lunge. Going to think better of it as he gets to the corner.
That's lap traffic Diesel Maxwell, but that is holding things up. Maxwell gets bumped out of the way by Fox. Some disappreciation shown in the final sector. Wait looking to take advantage. Not close enough for the lunge. Coming up to the checker flag this time by James Fox. Rips away the lead with the final 2 laps. Takes the checker flag and wins the heat of the micro. Wait in second, Patrick McNeely, 10 seconds back, will round out the podium for our heat race for the micros. And how about that? Not sure what happened to Wait to lose all that time in Sector 1 with 2 to go, but Fox able to take advantage.
Yeah, definitely interesting there to play out. And again, my apologies there. It looks like I was seeing double, but indeed it was Fox on Maxwell there, gaining a little bit of lap traffic. And yeah, just question marks as to what occurred there for Wait and how it all played out. But some drivers, a lot of time to find and, some mistakes to kind of rid themselves of for the likes of Wait. But your top 2 class of the field so far, McNeely, Guzman, and Maxwell, your top 5 in this Micro Swift heat race. So that's how they will start the main event later on today. We'll see how it all plays out there later on. More classes getting set to come your way here live on Kart Chaser.
Our next group of drivers now hitting the racetrack. It's the Minis, and the Minis looking to try and do what Minis do. Race, and more racing. It's going to be an interesting grouping of drivers coming up here as we see them warm up their tires. Very much important. You see with some of the drivers getting extremely loose. 11 karts entered today. 8 qualified on time. Daniel Guerra, Austin Taylor on the front row. Then Dalton Sears and Feinsteiner will be in fourth. Andrew Vowles along with Titus Roberts, in the sixth position. Knight Samanelek amongst those moving up from Mike Rowe in the seventh spot. Kason Hendrickson in eighth. Hudson Andrews starting ninth per the slots. Jordan Latham in 10th. And Kyle Kane rounding out the entries on the sheet for today in the 111K. So the drivers getting their karts all zipped around the racetrack and ready to double up this time around to be able to go racing. Again, 5 minutes plus 2 laps on the board for this class. The points, Dominic Gaddis entered today as the points leader. Again, amongst those not at the facility, but has locked himself unofficially for the championship, up with 2,501 points on the season. To Titus Roberts' 2,178. Gap more than 300 points. So all the karts just about ready to go here as we are set to go racing. The drivers are pumped up and we're in a sportsman-like mood. O'Gara, Taylor, front row. They make the slow roll to the start zone. 11 karts drawn for the Mini Swift. They take the roll up to the start line. Here we go. They roll slow. They roll to the green. And we're underway as they go double wide to the opening sector. Trying to battle it out and have a lot of bumping and banging, in fact, for third.
Yeah, the drivers in third, they're going side by side, going on this back straightaway now. And again, this is one of the biggest passing opportunities, especially in this Mini Swift class. You're going to see a lot of drafting as well as they get to this back straightaway. But a really good start there for Danny O'Gara. Hasn't looked back since he got to the point of the field. Taylor up to second. In third, it looks like Feichtinger still fighting it out there with what could be Sears or Roberts as well, who seems to get himself into the mix. The drivers third, fourth, and fifth all continuing to fight. And again, still the same special livery for Danny O'Gara that we saw at the Star Championship Series night fight to, I think, an homage to his sister's birthday that weekend, and hasn't changed it since. But O'Gara, Taylor pulling away from the rest of the field. Roberts, Feichtinger, Sears indeed fighting it out for the third spot there, Justin. And you can't even put a blanket over all those drivers there in third with how close they are.
How much they're battling for fourth or so. Right now, Feinsteiner and Sears amongst those who keep going back and forth, believe, on the racetrack. This is really helping the top two just settle on in and break away. Another lunge to the inside for Sears. They are not keeping patient back there in what is the edge of the top five right now. They want to fight it out in this early morning going. No one wanting to work together.
Yeah, and again, I mean, everybody, it's almost pass or be passed just for third on back with how it's kind of all playing out. But whenever you look at it, they're kind of hurting themselves more at this point of the race than really helping each other out to get up to the likes of O'Gara, Taylor, and Feichtinger, who's now starting to pull away, but about 5 car lengths from the drivers in third, which is Feichtinger back to Sears. And again, they continue to fight there further back. It's going to calm down just a little bit halfway through this race. Again, 5 minutes plus 2 laps in these heat races. So it's already a good start for O'Gara and Taylor. I mean, these are drivers that we see across our national series week in, week out, and they continue to show their pace. We hope to see some of those MPG Academy drivers out of the Las Vegas Super Nationals in a couple of weeks' time. So that'll be one of the exciting things as well, to see how they kind of stack up there going from their local club out to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, it's going to be fun out in Vegas to see Supernats, to say the very least, the Nationals. But right now, these drivers here with 2 minutes to go, they look to try and settle out the racing. O'Gara has pulled away by more than a second over Taylor. That's after setting a personal best lap in the 48.9s to be able to keep the buffer going. Still looking to battle for third on screen. Sears trying to take a peek to the left, trying to take a peek to the right for a moment, trying to take peeks everywhere in the midst of this, trying to find a way around Feichtiner and try and find a way to get up to the podium for this heat.
Yeah, Sears, like you said, trying to get creative for the third spot there. Still sits in fourth. O'Gara and Taylor absolutely checked out of this one here. O'Gara, quickest lap of the race so far, a 48.588. For Taylor, a 49.309. And that was his best lap. So O'Gara just checked out, almost 2 seconds on the rest of the field. Feichtiner sits in third. And then Sears as well sits in the fourth spot. Those two drivers are pretty close, considering lap time, about a tenth apart from each other lap by lap. We just kind of prompted them to be really close on the racetrack.
If it wasn't for 2 missed rounds for O'Gara, it might be a completely different championship, because O'Gara, since the middle of the season, has picked up multiple wins in the finals, has picked up at least 2 round sweeps, round 7 and 10, to be able to max out points. O'Gara's been quick, especially in the second half of this campaign, to battle with the rest of this field and come away with checker flags. He finished on the podium in second last time out in both the feature and the heat race. So, coming up to the final stretch here, the clock about 12 seconds remaining. Still keeping an eye on the battles on the racetrack for the third spot. Sears still not in line to be able to try and make a poke alongside and make a run as we come up to 3 laps to go for the leaders.
3 laps to go left in this race. Feichtiner and Sears, drivers in third and fourth, and I believe it's Feichtiner as well. I know his dad corrected me out at Newcastle, Indiana, a couple of weeks ago. So I hope I'm saying that right now. But again, his driver sits in third here. Sears, again, still looking on. Like you said, time did run out this time around. I don't think O'Gara got the 2.6 in the air. It could be this time here. Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. And I think indeed, last couple laps getting set to go underway here.
Final stretch of this race coming up here. O'Gara has been able to stretch it out by 4 seconds now. Better and better. Dalton Sears has now moved his way to third spot. He's been able to finally make the pass on Feichtiner, move himself into the podium positions. You see O'Gara, you see the rest of the pack right now. That was Taylor, should say. The rest of the pack staying lined up. Roberts also still within drafting distance in that pack for third spot. It's really spread apart here, and this is almost to where, wonder the rhythm for later today, if this sets the tone for later, for the final.
Yeah, we'll see if it looks anything like this. O'Gara definitely going to have a lot of pace at hand, and we'll see how he looks as well later on today. We know he does double duty usually in this mini Swift class, and as well in the 206 cadet or sportsman class as well. So we'll see how he kind of looks later on today. White flag in the air, though, this time around for the field, and O'Gara's gap looked to grow even more the last time around. About 4 seconds now in between Daniel O'Gara and Taylor, and indeed that's about 4.5 seconds there.
Coming up to the checker flag this time by Danny O'Gara. Ended up taking the pole, running away with it, and running away by a fair margin. Checker flag, Danny O'Gara wins it, setting 48.5s all to the checker flag. Austin Taylor. Dalton Sears in the third spot. Just a few tenths of a second back. He gets passed at the very end, though, by Feichtiner in the final sector. Sears shuffled out of the podium. Roberts in fifth. Andrew Vowles in sixth. Then Hendrick, Samanelek, Lapum, and Andrews the top 10. Kane finishing off this one in the 11th position. Some great pace from Danny O'Gara, though, in his Mini to be able to pull off and away 5.5 seconds the end interval, Caleb.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds, and that really kind of shows you the work that goes into finding that pace and adapting quickly as well. So Danny did a really, really good job there to pull away from the rest of the field. Austin Taylor there second, Fight Stinger third, Dalton Sears back to Titus Roberts. A good race so far in this one, and again, a couple of more still set to come your way here in a couple of moments. Next group of karts out onto the racetrack now.
Our next group is already set to go racing. Just has to warm up the tires first, though, and that's the 206 Heavies. We'll now hit the racetrack. 206 Heavy, Scott Hamble starting on the pole in that class here today. They're followed by Evan Corkledale, then Matt Geist and Brian Williams, J. Brian Williams specifically. Kyle Landon requested number 510 and got 510 this morning. Troy Tony in 6th spot. Then Mikey Bolin, Jack Dorsey in 8th, Kenneth Owens, Melvin Gotze, Kevin Simonelik rounding out the lineup for this group. And fist pumps all around as we get set to go racing in 206 Senior Heavy. Corkledale in the points lead entering today by less than 100 points over Troy Tony in the 24 kart. Let's find out how they'll zoom around, as it looks like they did not give the green. There is still the one extra formation. They doubled up a lap early. They're used to going on the first lap instead of the second.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, and they were already into the 2 tram lines, but they're going to send them around one more time, and we'll see how it all plays out here for these couple of drivers. But everybody in this field, a couple of familiar names, a couple of familiar faces here as well, and again, we'll see how it all plays out for your 206 Heavies as they get set to take the green flag this time around. Again, the cooler weather really keeping all these drivers on their toes here, Justin.
And making them have to really work to get the heat in those tires. You see them weaving and bobbling around a fair bit just to try and keep the tire heat built up for when they go zoom zoom in a moment. Scott Hamble's had the pace so far today, led final practices well in the session. Hamble making his 3rd start of the season. Last time out, picked up 2nd in the final in round 11. Can he go a step forward in round 12? Green, green, green. Now we go racing here. We're underway for 206 Senior Heavy. And already side by side for 2nd spot as this allows the leader Hamble trying to pull off and away. The rest of the field fighting their way all the way to the bank curve.
Yeah, everybody looking for their bit of real estate here now on the racetrack. Single file onto the back straightaway, and a couple of drivers already looking to make moves there. Look to be Bolin there on the inside now. Going to get himself up to 3rd. Mikey Bolin not making it easy on himself, and somebody going to go back there. I believe that was Geist there, the driver who was able to go back, but Mikey getting bobbled up there throughout that corner.
Yeah, it almost looked like they were getting locked up there and stepping on each other with the speed differential. But now they work already a minute off the clock. Hamble up by 1.1 seconds. Matt Geist holds on to 3rd. Mikey Bolin up 3. Jack Dorsey went up 4 spots to start off this race. -4 for Williams and Landon. Some drivers did not get going to start off this race.
Yeah, some drivers definitely had slower starts than others, and you saw how it kind of all started out there at the beginning. Everybody was super close, and it looked like they all got bobbled up into one of the corners, so that really slowed some of them way down. But for everybody else, 3rd, 4th, still pretty close. McCorkindale, again, the driver in 2nd, still trying to close down his gap to Hamble there. in the lead of this race. So we'll see how it all plays out here. And again, a couple of others making moves. Boland's up third, 3 spots so far at the start of this race. Again, Mikey from Texas moving out to Georgia, and now in Indiana by surprise to a lot of people. Honestly, surprised to myself either when I heard his name. When I heard you say his name here, Justin, wasn't sure if it was him or not. Looks to be running a red MGM here, MGM livery. It seems like here this weekend. But we'll see how it all plays out. Godsey, the driver in 5th. Dorsey, your top 6 as they continue to go around. And again, your battle for the lead closing down. About 2 car lengths separates your leader and your driver in 2nd.
And we'll see if the yellow Kart, Corkledale, finds its way to poke around with less than halfway to go on the clock already. Championship points leader staying lockstep with Scott Hamble, who's been looking lightning quick today. Fastest lap for Geist, lap time by. Dorsey's had an issue that's dropped him to dead last on the pylon, though. Not the lap that the 333 wanted, to say the very least. But the draft build-up, Corkledale, all over the back end of Hamble. Is there going to be a move this time around from the 19 kart? The answer is no. Just trying to ride the bumper for now. Try and keep in position for the chess match.
Yeah, car length separates the 2 now. And we'll see how it all continues to play out here. But again, McCorkindale getting very, very closer to the rear bumper of Hamble. And you see the difference in lines there. Again, Hamble from Hamble's Coyote machine to McCorkindale's machine there as well. So the drivers in 1st and 2nd. And again, Hamble was a 10th quicker last time around. Geist and Bolin running good lap times here in this race again. So don't count the 2 of them out once the fighting does start. Geist, I think the driver with the best track position and kind of best gap to try and challenge for maybe a race winning, fight here towards the end of this one. Your drivers in 1st and 2nd, still very close. And again, playing the long game for Bolin and Godsey in 4th and 5th. Not much fighting in between the 2 of them. Again, same picture at hand. And again, for Bolin coming hot off a good weekend at the Cup Karts North America Grand National. Was a top 15 finish there for Bolin. So he's, again, looking to pick up right where he left off, just a couple of miles down the road at Newcastle Motorsports Park here in Whiteland, Indiana.
Still zipping and zooming around the racetrack with 20 seconds to go on the clock right now for the front runners, too. Guys staying within arm's reach of these 2 in case things bubble over. Corkledale still yet to find a way to get a poke around in this group. Has lost some ground, in fact, this time around over Hamble. Should be coming up towards 2 laps to go this time by here. Clock reaches zeros now as the 141 continues to dominate up front. It's been that type of a race so far for Hamble, but it's points racing, you'd have to think, for the 19. Right now, the rest of the championship front runners losing ground to McCorkindale if things stay the way they are.
Yeah, again, he's really going to need a big mistake out of Hamble here in this one. So we'll see what McCorkindale can do coming into the last couple laps. So we'll see. And again, some passes there further back. Godsey on the inside of Mikey Bolin on that back straightaway. That's the pass. 1 and 2 starting to open up here, and Bolin falls back to the 5th spot now. Godsey's up to 4th. But already some fighting for the lead here. Justin McCorkindale getting creative here with Hamble. Like he chose the wrong spot on the racetrack and will lose some time here. Again, it seems like the difference in lines here, it's really falling into the hands here of Hamble.
White flag is out. Final top round for Hamble. Now trying to hold on in front of McCorkindale as the rest of the drivers continue to shuffle. Godsey indeed did get the 4th spot to confirm. So here come the race leaders. A bit of a bobble for Hamble. Will McCorkindale be able to build up enough momentum to close up fully? Geist in the popcorn seat in case things boil over. One more chance for the final sector. Now McCorkadale. He took a peek in this area last time after a small mistake from Hamble. No mistake this time from him. Now McCorkadale able to close up still. Takes a bit more peek to the right. Hamble covers it off, but exits wide. McCorkadale can't get the run, though. Coming up to the checker flag, it's Hamble, who holds on over McCorkadale. Then it's Geist, Gonze, and Bolin rounds out your top 5. Troy Tony in 6th, Brian Williams in 7th, Landon in 8th. The rest of your running order finishing back there includes Kenneth Owens, Kevin Simonellic, and Dorsey does not finish this race. An interesting one for 206 heavy, but Hamble goes flag to flag to take this checker flag here.
Yeah, a really good showing there by Hamble to go from green to checkered all the way through. McCorkadale, again, second. Geist, Tagazi, and Bolin. Here your top 5 in this race. Again, that was a good one. And again, this is how they're going to start here for the main event later on today. We'll see how it all plays out here. A couple of more classes still getting set to hit the racetrack here. You're watching the Indy Kart Challenge live on Kart Chaser.
Our next group in the karts already hitting the racetrack in the backdrop. Again, the Indy Karting Challenge continuing here on Kart Chaser. As they work their way around the racetrack this time, K8 Jr. Drivers now hitting the racetrack for their respective class. K8 Jr. due up for their respective grouping of heat races now. So, K8 Jr. looks like this for the starting lineup today. Ryan Mort set the pole time when we came in for the free coverage earlier on. Set the time by 4/10 over Thomas Anthony. Mason Gallienne, Evan Patton, Dane Van Dyke, Lucian Laser, AJ Stoner are the 7 entries in this class here today. And how things have gone in the championship, well, they've gone like this in K8 Jr. Landon Bucher won just about every race and has already clinched the championship mathematically unofficially for Dane Van Dyke. Van Dyke, the other of the full-time competitors up front, Lucian Laser, also full-time, 5th of the point standings. There's still a chance, though, with Ryan Mort's surge, even though he missed a round, to be able to potentially take 2nd spot in the championship. If he outscores Van Dyke by at least 16 points today. Let's find out how they race it out here as we're set to go racing in K8 Jr. Happy up with us here on Kart Chaser once again from Whiteland, Indiana. Ryan Mort in control. Lots of smoke, lots of puffs. Green flag is out. We're underway. And already a lot of pumping and baiting for 2nd.
Yeah, everybody already starting to go side by side early on in this race. Your juniors, again, leaving nothing on the table early on. And 4 drivers off the racetrack there, Justin. What a chaotic start for these K8 juniors. Goodness gracious.
Already a battle for the race lead, too. Gallienne in a huge drift and a slide. What a lunge back along the inside. Mort getting bumping and banging now with Gallienne. Trying to go back and forth as the rest of the drivers try and sort themselves out of the back of the field. It's been back and forth already at the front, and we're not even a lap complete.
Yeah, this has already been a crazy race since the start of it. And again, almost everybody outside of the top 3 getting collected there. Only a couple able to get back going, but man, what a chaotic start here for your juniors. Ryan Mort, the driver, out in the lead and looking to be pulling away from the rest of the field. Gallion, the driver, in second. Van Dyke in third. AJ Stoner fourth. Back to Laser, Patton, and Anthony. I think Anthony's out. Patton here, I'm not sure if he was able to get back going in this one. But what a hectic start. So now we look back onto the racetrack. The top cart there of Gallion and Ryan Mort still fighting it out for the lead of the race. And you saw that dive bomb and the slide job there by Mort to really hold on to the lead of this race, or to retake it there, sorry. So that was insane to start this one out. Again, only halfway through. Still about 3 minutes to go left in this one, plus 2 laps.
And indeed, that kart for Anthony, you see it sitting right there on the center of your screen, directly center of your screen. In fact, just about down to 6 karts running on the racetrack. But your top 2 duking it on out still. Mort has finished second 3 consecutive races. Here comes another lunge. Gallion trying to go for the crossover. Still can't get the run to get alongside quite yet, but the feistiness is there from the 64.
Yeah, Gallion definitely looking to get ahead of Ryan Mort here. So we'll see. He's going to have a pretty good run here on this back straightaway. Ryan Mort, if he's not careful, is going to have to defend here from Gallion as he get onto this back straightaway. This is a driver further back in the 3rd spot, so not able to do anything as of now. Still a car length in between the top 2.
Yeah, it's still separated out a decent bit now as Mort really gets into a rhythm with the tires. Getting faster and faster each lap, it's worth noting. Setting 46.3s now this run. They're starting off a couple seconds slower on the opening lap. That's how much the tire heat is expected to play a factor here this morning. It's going to be critical to make sure you're up to temperature, and we're seeing that come into really big play for the pace. Dane Van Dyke, by the way, right now still holding on to the 3rd spot. Right now, if things were to hold the way they are, Mort would close up the gap for the standings by 7 points. Dane Van Dyke would have the advantage by 8 still, heading into the final for second of the championship.
Yeah, big championship implications here this weekend. Again, given it is the last round, it's been a long season with 12 rounds total, and it's been crazy, from start to finish. But dealing with the crazy and embracing it has been one of the key things in whatever race series you go in, and really being consistent and being better than the rest is what Ryan Mort has done. So looking on a championship berth here this weekend, leading this race away is definitely a good showing there for Ryan Mort. And again, one of the things that I'm kind of curious about here, Justin, is probably the tire pressure that Mort started this race out on. You saw the big slide job move he had into that hairpin on the back straightaway, so it could have been low tire pressure for him to start off, or lower tire pressure, I should say, to start off this race. And again, as it progressed, definitely coming to life here because he is starting to pull away from Gallion here, who had pace in contrast to Mort at the start of this race.
Clock reaching zeros already in this one, down coming up to 2 laps to go. Mort zipping around in the MPG kart still as he continues to zip and zoom away from the pack. Ryan Mort racing a lot in this level of racing. We've seen him run well in these races this season. Won the 2022 206 Junior Sportsman Championship. Looking to try at least get a podium finish in this championship secure. So, final couple laps here for this one for Ryan Mort.
Yeah, final lap underway now. Or last couple, I should say, here for Ryan Mort as he works his way around. And again, for Gallion, I mean, a lot of pace at the start of this race here. Justin just really fell off at the end of it. Ryan Mort was able to kind of get the better of it and find the pace and find the spots on the racetrack that allowed him to go faster. And again, it could be a setup thing, could be a lot of things here for Ryan Mort, but definitely embracing it all and starting to pull away from the field. He crossed now, white flag in the air. Final lap underway now here for your top two. And Talk Championship, Ryan Mort, definitely one of the favorites if it's going to look a lot like this into the main event later on today.
Speedway Indiana's Ryan Mort coming around to the final few corners here. Started off intense with Gallion on the short run, but the long run pace really settling in for Mort in this race. He set his tone, he set his speed, he set his focus on doing one thing, taking the checker flag. He'll do the checker flag taking right here. The KA Junior Heat goes the way of Ryan Mort. He picks up the win for Mason Gallion. That sizable margin seen him set 0.6 quicker in the final laps alone on average pace. Dan Van Dyke in third, AJ Stoner fourth, Lucian Laser in fifth. Rounding out the finishers, Evan Patton and Thomas Anthony. Round out the checker flag getters in our second to last heat of the morning provisionally.
Just one more heat getting set to come our way here. Sorry there, Justin. Just one more heat getting set to come our way here. But yeah, what a race.
What a race, absolutely. But Ryan Mort putting on some dominating pace again. I think that sets the tone for later on for the final, what we expect to see from the 812 kart. But 206 light will close out the heat portion of the day here in a couple moments' time. Again, watching Kart Chaser for coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge.
Your next group of karts now getting set to hit the racetrack. So we'll see how they are going to stack up here for the qualifying session. Again, we just got wrapped up there with your KA Juniors. Last run of the morning session here with your 206 lights that get set to take the green flag here, Justin.
Absolutely. Getting set to go here. Gavin Baird on the pole. Braden Heber, followed by Jared Howerton. Brendan Johnson in fourth spot. By Wilbur and Colton Kelly. Followed by AJ London, Keegan Day. Nick Patton and Ian Stowell. Gunnar Enderline. Then you have Zachary Allen Dominic Stancone, Ryan Waldo, Jack Dorsey rounding up the lineup. Who stands out to you based on this order today?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Huber be pretty quick there in the qualifying session, and one of the things about this light class that I think we see time and time again is it's going to be a lot closer than the other classes that you have. I mean, the star power in this class and the level that we've also seen here is one of the coolest things for me as well. I think Baird was able to put off a really good lap there at the end of qualifying. Huber's a driver that we saw at the CKNA Grand Nationals as well earlier on this year. He raced his way into the main event and then made up some moves there in the senior light race as well. A driver who's been around for quite some time, I think since 2019 at the start of his race, and always wearing that lime green helmet with a lime green kart. But we'll see how it all plays out here. A lot of racing action getting set to come your way. I think for Huber, with a lot of experience at hand, starting on the outside as well could be a benefit here for Huber getting into this one.
Just about ready to go racing here in this group. 206 light, and it's heat race. Ready to go. Green flag is out. We're underway. Some stragglers at the back still didn't get grouped up fully, but the whole field took the green regardless. Battling back and forth at the front of the field as Heber and company looks to try and square it out side by side for the race lead. Baird trying to hold back. Now the crossover again to the inside. Heber trying to cross him on up. Now side by side for the race lead as they already have had a couple changes up front. Heber now looks to change back to the point. Howerton also in that conversation. A lot of squabbling amongst your top three to start things off in this run. Baird got shuffled in quickly.
Yeah, a lot of drivers there in this mix as well. Johnson, Wilbur, I think even back to Kelly here, your top six drivers all in this front fight. You see the group of four, and then the top two starting to break away here. Heber and Howerton, who's the driver in the lead of this race now. Howardson, your leader, back to Heber, Baird, Wilbur, Lund, Johnson, down 2 spots after starting 4th. What a start to this one already here. Justin, the top 6, kind of breaking away another group of 3 there further back, but the group of 4 still fighting it out there further back, and that's Baird, who, again, looks to lose a couple of more spots here as he continues to fall under fire.
Another poke on Baird indeed. That's going to be Wilbur. And already kind of goes from squeaking out the qualifying spot to everyone shuffling you back. What kind of goes to the mind when you have this kind of a situation where you have the pole sitter just sink like a rock like this? It almost feels like this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things, you know, in the helmet here for Baird. Probably going to start to see, you know, some desperation moves to try and stop the bleeding and try and get himself back up into the fight and back into the mix. But it's really a deflating feeling, you know, and frustrating. You kind of start to get angry under the helmet whenever you can't make moves or you're just really choosing the wrong lanes, right? So you make moves in places where you may lose some time. That there was a pretty good move there by Baird to make a couple of more. So he's going to be up to 5th now on this back straightaway. Want to chase down Johnson in the 4th spot as well as Lund. But your top 2 of Heber and Howardson, this is kind of, you know, the opposite, right? You find yourself in a good spot, in a spot with a lot of open track position where you don't need to fight. It's just about hitting your marks and keeping your head down and going lap by lap. So for Heber, who's you know, coming back to his club here this weekend and racing, this is a lot of experience taken over the past couple of weeks to apply it here this weekend. And the same for Howardson, who's in the lead of this race. You know, it's kind of just trying to be calm, be methodical, and continue to hit your marks and go lap by lap.
Just had a warning after that last run about the tire scrubbing, interestingly enough. Do not scrub tires in the team lines or the tram line specifically after formation. There are penalties for that, so a few drivers, it looks like, may have been trying to do that when they got lined up. We'll see if anything happens from this race. That's just coming over on the bulletin. But with 90 seconds to go, the top 2 still have a 2.7 second cushion. You also have small battle packs that have formed up like Lund and Johnson Brian Johnson in the conversation for the championship, mind you, for today. In a great spot to at least score a point over Wilbur to start off the day.
Yeah, good start to the day here in the final heat race of the morning run order. But again, here, Justin, that penalty coming up. Obviously, there is a commitment cone out there on the racetrack, and again, you're not allowed to scrub tires after that commitment cone, and that's a penalty anywhere that you go. But I think some people are trying to take advantage of it, especially due to the colder weather that we do have here today. And again, not ideal for those that were doing it, but we'll see how it all plays out here as we get to the closing stage of this race. About 3 laps to go left in this one. This will be the third and last one, and Heber and Howerton still pulling away from the rest of the field, and that was all due to the good start that they got. Again, lap times for Johnson and Lund, they're still not far off of what Heber and Howerton are running, although they do hold on to the fastest lap of this race.
Heber taking some small pokes yet again to try and sort out what to do now. All but the rear end of Howerton. Clock reaching zeros here, so should see double sticks this time by. See and get the confirmation once we do. Johnson holding on over Lund now. Wilbur is back to 5th spot in terms of some of the other shuffling. So double sticks, believe, just seen there. 2 laps to go as we work our way towards the final sectors of this race. Up front, another peak. It's Heber. Up the right side, looking for the race lead on Howerton, taking the run all the way to the bank curve. Side by side, Howerton trying to work the outside. Heber sends it. Heber takes the race lead, coming up to the white flag this time.
Yeah, that's exactly what Heber needed to do. He was just sitting behind Howerton this entire race, kind of learning, turning it into a lead and follow session. Not for long, though. Howerton not wasting any time looking to go back. He goes to the lead of this race. But again, Heber knows it now. Howerton showing his hand here early. It's almost like a high-speed game of poker as it goes on. And Howerton showed his hand here early, so we'll see what Heber does. And if he wants to go again throughout this back straightaway. White flag in the air last time around. Final lap well underway here, and Heber going to have a monster run as we get on his back straightaway here, Justin.
Can Heber find a way back around and make it stick this time? No lunge this end. Went a little bit too deep, if anything, for Heber. Howerton still has a couple more turns that he has to play defense for. Howerton focusing, lasered ahead. No peaks to behind. Checker flag coming out. Jared Howerton holds back Braden Heber to take the win in 2:06 light. Does so by 0.3 of a second just about. How about that battle? An intense one at the very end in the main group. Howerton holds on at the very end.
Yeah, that was a good race from start to finish there. Howerton kind of didn't waste any time, and it really fell into his lap, and he benefited the most from it. I think Heber would have still had a chance, but like you said, just since hitting a little bit too deep there in the one of the final corners there in the major passing zone. When you're down in the rest of your order, you go back to Lund and Wilbur, who round up your top 5. Johnson there as well in the 3rd spot. Some pace to find for those drivers, or just a much better start that they're going to need here in going into the main event here in a couple of moments. Wilbur back to Baird, Patton, Day, Kelly, Stoll, Allen, Waldo, Inderfield, and Stancombe. Your 14 drivers here. A little bit of a 10-minute break, a pause in the action before we get into main event racing here live from Whiteland, Indiana. The Indy Kart Challenge here is on Kart Chaser.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website? That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Looking for a team with a diverse calendar? How about a team that offers both full support and teaches you and your kid how to do all the work yourself? For us at Drive Your Line Kart Sport, fostering growth on and off the track in a family environment is what we do. Well, that and bringing home some hardware. Contact us today online at dylkartsport.com. Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've travelled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
Welcome back, everyone, to Whiteland, Indiana for the Indy Karting Challenge as we continue now to the finals. 9 minutes plus 2 laps are on the docket here for today as we get set to go zoom and go racing once again. Just Prince alongside Kel Vieska as we get set to see how the finals play out here in the next few minutes. Just a couple minutes away from the 206 Supermasters from hitting the racetrack to start things off for the day for the finals. And so far, Caleb, we've seen some calm races. We've seen some crazy races to start. We've seen a couple intense battles. Now, what are the expectations for the finals for this morning now that we've set the tone, so to speak, from the heat races?
Yeah, I mean, we've had it all from start to finish, right? I think whenever you go into main event racing, it's really just biding your time and being patient as can be, right? You don't want to be too patient where you lose a lot of time waiting behind somebody. So it's really just going to be biding your time and picking and choosing when to make the right moves. I think we talk about it time and time again wherever we go. It's all about decision making, right? Especially in main event time. I mean, this is championship weekend here at the Indy Kart Challenge, so it's going to be critical for a lot of these drivers to really try and get it done here today.
Extremely critical, to say the very least, here today. Remember, these drivers will have some time to be able to warm up their tires before we get rolling here as part of these morning sessions. The current weather conditions, how have they now changed? Well, it's 47 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's gotten a little bit warmer, but it's still pretty cool outside at the moment here in Indiana. Kart's now hitting the racetrack. Here's how they'll start. William McLaughlin start on the pole after doing well in the heat race. Tom Harleman in second. Lowe and Cutshaw in row 2. Stevens and Beaukert in row 3. Joseph Stevens and Wilbur in row 4. Irvin and Lemasters in row 5. Then Zirk and Whitaker in row 6. Rounding out the lineup, John Dorsey in 13th. Going to be an interesting run through to see what happens this race. McLaughlin really set the tone in his heat race earlier on with the speed. We'll see if he keeps that up for the final now when there's a lot more time to be able to work on the racetrack. So the karts now getting themselves warmed up on the tires here. What are you watching the most for the Supermaster final this morning?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting race, right, from start to finish. I think this morning we saw a couple of drivers pull away from the rest of the field. And what we talked about early on today, what was one of the key factors in the heat race was getting through lap traffic, right? It's going to happen. You're going to have to pick and choose how to get your way through and how to work your way through. And I think that's really going to be one of the biggest key factors. Getting through lap traffic without losing too much time, I think, is going to be the most important thing here in this race.
Already the kart's getting ready to double up right now. McLaughlin in the 56, the 18, Tom Harleman. And right now, Tom, if anything, is trying to set the tone running away from the rest of the field here as they still have a few more corners to roll through.
Yeah, and again, you look back to the start earlier on today. I mean, Harleman and McLaughlin, they had a good one, you know, and we talk about starts as well here, Justin. I think that's going to be another one of the key things whenever we get into it.
Who's going to get a good launch this time? Let's find out now as they make their way to the starting zone. Happy with us here at Kart Chaser. It's time for the finals for the morning sessions. Green flag is out. We're underway with a great launch from the left side of the racetrack. Harleman looking solid to start things off as they look to set the tone early. And already the rest of the field seeing some stragglers lose a lot of time, but that left side had the better launch than the right.
Yeah, that was a really good start there by the outside line to try and and pull away from the rest of the field here. So we'll see how this race continues to progress, but the top three look a lot closer than what we've seen already this week. And McLaughlin, Cutshaw, Harleman, all in this top three battle. And at the start of this one, Harleman, the driver who did qualify on the pole position, is able to hold on to the lead of this race. For McLaughlin, the 56 in second. He has some work to do to really close down his gap, but Cutshaw right behind him. And they're going to continue to push each other along. And we'll see how much Cutshaw wants to work with McLaughlin here as this race goes on. A car length in between the driver in second and third for Cutshaw here, depending on how much more pace. If he has more pace than McLaughlin here, then he's going to try and there he goes around. So commentator's curse there from myself. Cutshaw spins her around, going on to the back straightaway. Unfortunate there for Cutshaw. Unfortunate there for the 10.
I have to wonder if cool tires came into play here. These tires still warming more and more up with the cooler temperatures right now. Seen a lot of people lose their karts there in practice earlier on today. Still though, these two set the tone in the heat race. They have really pulled away now as a result of the Cutshaw spin for now. McLaughlin trying to find a way to get a chance to make a pass for the next little bit. Still 7 minutes, though, to be able to plan things out. 7 minutes. That's a long time to be able to plot and plan this.
Yeah, a very, very long time, and you have to think, is that going to benefit you or having that much time to think, is that almost going to hurt you here as this race goes on? We'll see a car length in between the two of them. McLaughlin looks to send a move there on the inside of Harleman. Onto the brakes. Not close enough there. Wow.
Yeah, try to take a lunge up the inside instead. Loses a little bit of ground afterwards. And now we'll have to reset and refocus to be able to regain that time on the racetrack. Still 6 minutes or so on the clock now for these drivers. These two more than 4.5 seconds up over Richard Lowe as things stand for the time being. And now what's going to the mind if you're in the 56 kart right now to be able to try and regroup and gain this back up?
It's all about patience. I mean, throughout this race, you find yourself in a good spot. You had a good start already, and then you're halfway through this one already. Right, already a couple of laps into it. So it's all about patience and hitting your marks. That's the most important part. I mean, if you're McLaughlin, you went for a move. You went for a move there, and it obviously didn't help you. So for McLaughlin now in the 56, it's going to be just critical for him to continue to hit his marks and not let Harleman get away. We know Harleman does have a lot of pace, and he continues to show it lap after lap, but losing 0.2 of a second really isn't going to help. It's just all about being consistent with what you do and almost getting into that zone, and that's as a racing driver, that's one of the hardest things to explain. You just let yourself kind of go on autopilot and almost cruise control, and you get yourself into this almost tunnel vision zone where you just push harder than you ever have before as you're racing for a race win like this. So that's probably what is going through the head here of McLaughlin, just hitting his marks, being consistent and doing his best to try and close down that gap that is quite big here at the moment.
It's quite big, but now they've reached lap traffic this time. That might play a big factor here later on in the race. No issues though, the blue and yellow flag. Part of that factor this time for the traffic. No pushing and shoving like last time. We've seen some traffic management in either of these races. Still, coming up past the halfway point here on the clock. It's turned into a very calm race, it almost feels like. The calmness that we were seeing earlier on. One of those rhythmistic races where it's just down to the raw speed of the driver and the kart that really solidifies these gaps.
Yeah, I mean, this racetrack also is quite technical with the sections that it has, and again, it does have its straightaway sections, but the technical sections as well. I think this is why we're seeing so many drivers pull away and throughout all the classes. and getting the setup for this track is as well super important. I think Whiteland, Indiana, people have said it time and time again, one of the most physical racetracks and one of the hardest racetracks with the most grip that they've been to. And this is the home of the MPG Academy team and a lot of locals to Indiana. So this is really shown to be one of the biggest factors of this place. And for Harleman and for McLaughlin, again, we'll see them reach some lap traffic here in a couple of moments as well. So it's all down to Harleman getting through it nicely, and he does. As traffic gets out of the way, McLaughlin as well is able to get through, but his gap's closing in here, Justin. You can see that gap's almost at 3 car lengths, and there's a big difference in lines in between the top cart there in the second spot and the driver up ahead in the 18 machine. So it's just all about rhythm here, keeping the momentum, keeping this Briggs and Stratton revs, just keeping them high and keeping them going here. That's going to be the key thing as we get into the closing stages of this race.
Indeed, at this point. And now we continue to see things move to the final 2.5 minutes of this race. Tom Harleman still maintains the rhythm up in front. Still keeping the pattern going. Of note, Jason Irvin's getting to spot this lap. Danny Cutshaw's recovered from his spin back to the 8th position amongst some of the other battles. Side by side, quickly McLaughlin taking advantage on the move, able to zip by in the drafting section all of a sudden, and Harleman now starting to fall off. We've seen this once or twice already where someone's had the pace and just fallen apart.
Yeah, McLaughlin did a good job there to kind of get up to the back of Harleman and get himself up into the second spot and now up to the lead. So McLaughlin, really good job there in the last 2 laps to close down his gap and to get himself into that zone and make the pass on Harleman now. And like you said, just losing a little bit of touch here. So now it falls back to Harleman now on trying to be consistent, trying to put in those laps to close down to the top cart that's up ahead of him. For Lowe, who's in 3rd here, he sits way down the order, and again, more lap traffic coming up for these drivers. They're going to have to navigate their way through, but for Lowe, 7 seconds back in the 3rd spot. Your top 2 on the same bit of real estate here on the racetrack, about 5 to 6 car lengths separates the 2 of them.
McLaughlin just moments away from a clinch-up of a sweep today. McLaughlin, before today, had not picked up a win this season in a heat or in a final. And now only needs to be able to cruise for 30 more seconds plus the 2 laps to be able to secure things here today for a victory and for a round sweep to close out the day. Of note, Wilbur, regardless of what's going on right now, has that championship comfortably despite his struggles in the round today. Wilbur, in fact, right now not amongst those on the racetrack to close out the day. But right now, Harleman looking for a chance to swing things back his direction after the win last round in a final. He's closed up the gap for now, coming around 2 laps to go.
Yeah, this race is definitely going to heat up here in the last 2 laps. And again, Harleman, vice versa now, right? He did a good job to get up there. But now as a reference point in McLaughlin, that's also one of the key things. You find yourself in 2 very different situations with the first and second driver. I mean, McLaughlin has to, find the pace on his own. And now Harleman has a little bit of a reference of almost like a mouse to chase here for Harleman throughout this one. And it was the same thing McLaughlin a couple of laps ago when he was closing down his gap to Harleman. So this has been a good sequence here, but McLaughlin very wide there on the exit of the right-hander. He's going to lose some time there. So now Harleman and McLaughlin going to go at it here, coming to the white flag.
Coming to the white flag this time around. Right now, Harleman looking for a setup, looking for a chance to poke around and prod around. Back up in front. White flag is out. Final time around. McLaughlin right now about to reach some lap traffic pretty soon too. Will that play a factor on the final lap here? Still 2 more sectors to go as Harleman looks to set up the run. Gets within a kart length for the drafting section. Now some hand signals with the lap traffic coming up here from McLaughlin. Still keeps the distance, builds up a buffer if anything. No close up, and there's the traffic. Now lap traffic in front, that's Whitaker. Whitaker not able to move alongside. Here comes Harleman. Harleman pokes right, now goes back left. Lap traffic blocks the bottom, hand signal goes up, takes away the line from McLaughlin, side by side. Harleman trying to go into drag race with McLaughlin at the checker flag. It is still McLaughlin who holds on over Harleman. Traffic nearly played a factor, my goodness.
That was close. A little too close for comfort there for McLaughlin coming to the checkered flag. But, man, what a way to end it. For McLaughlin, really did a good job, bided his time, and got there when he needed to be. And, again, kudos to Harleman here who did a good job as well to try and get himself in the mix for a main event victory. That's your top two. Rounding up your podium, Lowe, going to be the driver in third. That's going to round up your podium here.
Look at the rest of the running order. Danny Cutshaw recovered 6th. Irvin, Stevens, Kirk Runstows in the top 9. Whitaker went down. LeMasters and Dorsey also finished a lap down in this race. What a finish. Traffic definitely playing a factor towards the very end of that one for 206 Supermasters. And so an exciting finish once again for our first final of the day here on Kart Chaser. Still 5 more to go. Next up on the docket, it's the Micros here on Kart Chaser. And here come the Micros already. Quickly like clockwork. Schedule going very quickly here today for these drivers. So Micros look like this for qualifying from the heat race, should say. James Fox stole it away from Grayson Wade in the final moments of the heat race. That's the front row. Patrick McNeely and Mateus Guzman and Diesel Maxwell rounds out the 5-kart entry list. Maxwell has had some struggles with his kart in this one. So Fox and Wade really ran away the last race. We'll see what happens this time around here, Caleb, as we get set for final number 2 of the morning.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out here. And again, a full lap for these drivers to try and put enough heat in their tires here due to the colder weather in Whiteland, Indiana here this weekend. So we'll see how they kind of, how it, tends to work out for all these drivers. But this time around, again, you talked about it, right? Big issues there for some drivers. Didn't have the pace to really fight with the top 2. Diesel Maxwell was the driver. Again, it was at the tail end of the field, kind of got caught up in that fight for the heat race victory that ultimately went the way of Fox. But we'll see how it all plays out here in this one.
Absolutely. These drivers still have to group up and be able to double up. Remember last time they had to basically come to a full stop to double up. It looks like they're going to do the same here today for the final. It's getting them all grouped together after they warmed up their tires. Ready to go with the Micros. Green, green, green already off and away, and we already have one off the racetrack. Well, that's an interesting start to this one as the rest of the karts make their way around the racetrack.
Yeah, I think that was one of the drivers in the top 3 that finds himself in the wall there at the start of this one. Unfortunate. They are definitely not the way you're going to want to start off this race, but off to a good start here for Fox and Waite. Those 2 drivers already have pulled away from the rest of the field here. So Fox and Waite, the 12 and the 5, doing a good job here at the start of this race.
Might have been Wade, actually, that went off. Want to confirm once they get to the stripe. But Fox is in front. Believe McNeely is the one on the chase here to start this runoff. And can confirm as they cross the stripe.
Indeed.
It is McNeely. Wade is in third, way back.
So I think it was Guzman, the driver, unfortunately, that finds himself in the wall. So Guzman, indeed, the driver in the wall. Maxwell to Wade in third, McNeely, and up to Fox now. The drivers in the top four. And again, a really good start here for Fox.
Just trying to stay very aerodynamic to be able to try and maintain, if not grow, this gap at the moment. Still has 7 minutes and 7.5 minutes on the clock to be able to rumble around here. And that's still a lot of time for things to happen, but McNeely right now in a great spot points-wise, but really needs to be able to maximize things if there's a chance to be able to pass by Hodges in the championship. It's going to be close on the points there between the two of them.
Yeah, it's also one of the key things, right? I mean, you talk championship here this weekend for a lot of these drivers, some moving up here for the first time, and others already with a lot of experience in their, in their background here this weekend. It's all about, you talked about seat time earlier, it's all about learning and gaining new experiences, especially racing in all types of conditions, right? This is a much colder day here today, so we'll see how it all kind of plays out here, but Fox continue to do a good job, and from McNeely as well, up to second. That gap just about 5 car lengths in between the two of them. McNeely, again, try and close down their gap to try and get up to the driver first.
6 minutes to go in this one. Fox right now in prime condition to run off and away. Fox picking up his first win of the season in the last race. Previously had been a podium finisher in round 11 after being about a fourth or fifth place kart much of the season. But still, interesting enough, Wade not having the same pace as earlier from the heat race. Has not been in the same ballpark since whatever happened to that kart in the final stages before. It's a very calm sequence right now for these drivers right now, though. But it's all about having fun, right? And for some of these drivers, especially for Guzman and Wade, first starts of the season, they've had some solid speed showcased in their karts, especially the 5.
Yeah, really good pace here. I mean, for Wade, that was in the battle earlier on today for a heat race victory, and for Guzman as well. I mean, an unfortunate spin to start this one out that I don't think they were able to recover from. So, unfortunate there for Guzman. But besides that, I mean, it's been a good, smooth sailing race for everybody else on the racetrack. And again, you think about why people get into racing, why people come out here to really race, especially at such a young age, is all for fun, and mostly for these young kids, it's to keep them out of the house and to keep them doing something, and keep them doing something to strive for as well, or to look for something to strive for. So that's one of the coolest things in my opinion here, as I believe that's Guzman now on the racetrack getting passed.
Still halfway through the race to go here. Right now, Guzman, the only one to lap down for those wondering. But right now, McNeely keeping Fox at bay. A lot more different than the last race in terms of the rhythm. I will say for McNeely, it's going to be critical to be able to get this race lead. We talked about points tallies moments ago, how the calculations are going to play out, getting the calculator out to make sure on this point. But right now, with how things are looking at the points, it's going to be extremely critical to be able to make the pass. Right now, 2,394 points for Hodges. You minus that out with 2,220 points, 174. 180 might get it. It should get it in second spot, possibly, for McNeely. So, potentially, with Hodges making the division swap in the last round and not being here today, it could very well go to McNeely for the season championship unofficially, depending on if that is accurate for the official points tallies by the end of this one.
Yeah, that's huge there as well. Big implications coming into this race at the end of it. So could be a really good day here for McNeely, especially holding on to the second spot. And again, that Kart Republic still looking in pretty good shape here compared to the compared to the drivers right behind him. His lap times are closer to those of Fox, but anything can happen. I mean, we saw it earlier on today here as well, Justin. In one of the classes, a couple of drivers had some issues late in the race, and a couple of others made some moves. So we'll see how it all plays out here, again, with just over 2 minutes to go.
So still plenty of time to go for Fox. He's now starting to set the tone. It's been interesting, though, how these karts really come into play. Is this down to driver? Is this down to setup? When you start to see a gap like this start to grow, usually, what's that trend when you start to really see this separate out long run compared to the short run where it's more close together, and then the long run seems to really stretch it out?
I mean, it could really be a lot of things, right? If you want to get into a deep dive here, you can talk about the racing lines that they're doing differently, or really the gearing, or even the tire pressure as well could be a couple of the key factors. I mean, if you're really quick throughout the infield section but are losing a lot of time on that back straightaway or even the main straightaway, that means you probably have a taller gear on, which makes you which kind of pulls you out of the corners in the infield section. But if you're really not as fast in the infield section and you carry all this top end high speed on the back straightaway, that means you have a lower gear, a smaller gear, which is really going to allow that speed to reach higher levels, or a faster speed, you should say. So that could be two of the key things that are really either playing a factor here. Tire pressure could be another one of how high you went with the tire pressure, how low. Again, a high tire pressure will see you go quick in the early stages of this race, but slower at the end with the tires kind of greasing over. Or it could be the opposite. You could start this race off with lower tire pressure, and it would be a slower start, a much slicker start, which is why you see a lot of drivers kind of either sliding around in the early stages of this race, and then it kind of progressively gets faster and faster and faster, which gives you that much longer long run pace. So those are two of the things that I think could be the key factors. But at such a young age and in a class that's been super close as well throughout the year, I think at the end of the day, it's just being consistent in driving. Consistency, I think, is another key before you get into the technicality of everything, right? You need to drive a racetrack the way it's supposed to be driven. So when you see gaps throughout the field, I think there's just differences in driving styles. And at the moment, the best driver and the best equipment on the racetrack is Fox here as he continues to pull away. So those are some of the key things, I guess, to look out for here. But nonetheless, I mean, everybody's doing a pretty good job at it to stay on the racetrack and to continue to push each other along.
Clock reaching zeros this time around, by the way. So coming up to the final stretch of this race, 5 seconds now the gap. Right now, Diesel Maxwell at risk of being lapped right now with how things have gone. But James Fox has been outright flying. Crafty racing from him. See how many laps to go with the signal. Go ahead.
I said Fox has done a really good job to get himself through, and now, I mean, we talked about it in the Supermasters class. This is going to be one of the key things for Fox here, right? In getting through the lap traffic, and it seems like he will. But that was again a critical moment there for Fox. Again, as he continues to make the pass, just really having to choose a good spot on the racetrack to make a pass and not lose too much time while doing it.
Down to the final lap and a half or so to go. Nearly in line potentially for a championship. We'll see what the official tallies look like. Fox looking to try and get the chance to celebrate a final victory and the final for this class this season. Coming up to the white flag this time by Fox, ready to try and take that said white flag in dominating fashion. checker flag now celebrates out. Looks like they'll give the checker flag here. Fox getting it. Fox with the checkered. So it's Fox, it's McNeely, it's Waite, it's Maxwell and Guzman. Unofficially, it may be McNeely with that edge in the championship. We'll have to wait and see here, Caleb. It's going to get interesting for those official standings.
Yeah, what a race here by McNeely. I mean, a goal at a task at hand, you should say, and that's the big picture. You know, the championship, and as it stands, you know, like you were saying, could be a really good showing here from McNeely in the championship. So second is a good showing there for Patrick. James Fox, though, your big winner in the number 12 machine. Grayson Waite, back to Diesel Maxwell and Matias Guzman, your 5 drivers here in the Micro Swift final.
That's looked at the bottom of the Micro Swift final running order. As in the end, McNeely, right now unofficially, might have the edge in the standings. We'll see what that circumstance comes out to be here. So we'll see what happens later on. But our next race coming up, it's the Minis. The Minis ready to come onto the racetrack in just a moment. You're watching Kart Chaser. And now we're watching the karts hit the racetrack. They're really going clockwork today, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, no time to breathe, right? It seemed like you wanted to, take a quick pause there for us here in the booth, but no time for that, right? We're ready racing here. The Mini Swift's out on the racetrack now, and again on schedule. So huge shout out to everybody here at Whiteland, Indiana, for keeping us well on schedule. This mini race was slated to start at 11:27 local time, and what's 11:27, Justin? So we're right on schedule, and we're ready to get rolling. So again, a little bit of a pause for us in the action when we get to in about an hour, 2 hours time, I should say, here later on, or no, in an hour's time here when we get into the practice for the Kid Kart program and as well for the warm-up sessions. We will be back for the qualifying starting at 2:07 local time here, Whiteland, Indiana, when the 206 Sportsman hit the racetrack later on today. But turn you down your starting lineup here for your Mini Swift race in the morning. Daniel Guerra was the quickest, and he did it by a pretty good margin. Taylor, the driver, getting set to start in second. Back to Sears and Avalos on row number 2. Robertson, Feichtinger on row number 3. Hendrickson and Simon Ellick on row number 4. You go back to Andrews and Laufin on row number 5. King going to be the driver to round up your top 11 here. Your 11 drivers that are getting set to take the green flag.
So they'll work to warm up their tires and get those tires in prime shape for this one. Remember, O'Gara pulled away by a sizable margin in his respective race earlier on over Taylor. Do we see that again from O'Gara? It's going to be a huge question.
Yeah, and again, given the pace he had this morning, expect to see it here from Daniel O'Gara as we await the green flag to come out now. Green flag in the air. We are racing here in the Mini Swift race. O'Gara with a really good start there, as well as one driver on the outside able to get that move done. What a start here for a couple of drivers here. And again, whenever we switch cameras, we'll find out who's the driver out in the lead. It looks like it could be Taylor here, Justin. Taylor, the driver, indeed, in the lead of this race, was able to get the move done around the outside on Daniel Guerra, headed into turn number 1.
Work away around the racetrack now to the final sector. O'Gara and Taylor still battling it out up for the front of the field. The rest of the field single filed out to now make their way to the front straight away. Already a minute or so burned off the clock. How things have shaped up here. Look down from trackside as the rest of the drivers zipped on by O'Gara, able to maintain the lead over Taylor, along with Feichtinger amongst those front runners here in this one. As we continue to see those karts move to the second half of the racetrack. So far, O'Gara doing O'Gara things, running off and away.
Yeah, O'Gara was able to retake the lead of this race here. Taylor falling back to second, and like you said, Danny O'Gara doing what Danny O'Gara does best, and that's pull away from the rest of the field here. Now you see him come through. There's Danny O'Gara right behind him. Taylor back to Feitstinger in the third spot. Sears back to Roberts, your top 5 here in this one. And again, everybody just single file line at this point.
Absolutely at this point. Right now, still a lot of work to go, though. Taylor, we know for a fact, has a lot of speed in his kart. We've seen it in a lot of the races this season. A lot of the others just trying to stay in a rhythm and work together. A lot more of a calm presence, you could argue, for these drivers right now.
Yeah, everybody kind of just being calm. And Justin, we've talked about this time and time again, right, of what it takes to kind of go out there and do what you do. And it's all about hitting your marks. And if you see and keep a close eye on Daniel O'Gara throughout this race, he's not going to make any mistakes. I mean, he's been in this moment before time and time again across many series. So expect Danny to kind of hit his marks. And again, his mom and dad, Sarah O'Gara, and his dad, Mr. O'Gara, I mean, running this racetrack and giving it a fresh revive as well this year with what they've done here at the Indy Kart Challenge. It's super incredible to see. You know, we were able to speak to Joe Janowski on a couple of weeks ago. I mean, months ago, I should say, before the final round. He was on our episode of Casey Grit Talk, and we talked to him on for a good bit of what it was like for him to kind of take this as well under the NKA family, and what they've done for this racetrack, reviving it, revamping it, has been great. And it's a place where MPG Academy has made a home for themselves with Billy Vincent, Chase Jones, and Race Liberante. So it's been a cool thing to see in a big family environment every time that you come out here to Whiteland, Indiana, a racetrack that holds a lot of history, and a racetrack that's seen a lot of drivers, a lot of IndyCar drivers as well, come through here and definitely make a name for themselves.
Indeed, at this point. Still 5 minutes to go, though, in this final. Right now, O'Gara taking off. And it's to the point where O'Gara's not even afraid to slide the rear tires, just continuing to just go slippy, slidey, pull off and away. It doesn't really matter. That pace just there, as said. Raced a lot at the national scene. But at this point, too, have to remember it's been a long season for these drivers, a long year for these karts. A lot of races to be able to take around the racetrack. We've seen a lot of great races here at Whiteland Raceway Park. Some drag races, some calmer ones. This is one of the calmer ones with this variety today to end off the year.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Right, it's definitely been a lot calmer than what we're used to seeing. I remember at the start of the year, it was crazy racing, and as well, you're at the end of the year, right? You kind of have a lot more to play for, a lot more championships as well to play for, and some drivers either looking to work their way up in this championship, and some that are unfortunately going to work their way down this championship here as well. But there's a really good battle heating up now for the second spot, or I believe could even be back to third, if I'm not mistaken here. There's a battle there that has 3 drivers well in tow of each other. That looks to be Taylor, Feitstinger, Sears, all within the same bit of real estate. So that's Taylor going by now. And then Feitstinger, I believe, the driver in the third spot, with Sears and Avalos all there, third, fourth, and fifth, with O'Gara checking out here as well as Taylor. So we'll see how it all plays out. On the inside, a couple of drivers looking to make moves. That's the 324. Sears on the inside of Feitstinger. He's going to lose a spot. Avalos as well looking to go through in the 7 machine. Couldn't get through that time around, but this battle's starting to heat up here for the second spot. Third spot, I should say, sorry.
Yes, a lot of squabbling now. Once again, Sears amongst those not afraid to squabble in these races. And I mean, why not at this point with the distance between them at first and second? But Sears has been one of the more aggressive drivers, even amongst these calmer races here in the early morning. It seems amongst them. Feitstinger moving back to fourth once again. Remember, Feitstinger had a last lap pass to get back into the podium positions to close it out.
Yeah, everybody's still looking to get themselves back on the podium train here this weekend. And again, they're just running out of time. 2.5 minutes left to go in this race. And again here, Justin, you mentioned the prizes that they're giving out here for finishing on the podium, did you not?
Yes, absolutely. They are giving away various different items, including, mind you, it's the turkey race, after all. To remind those who didn't hear earlier on, each of these winners receiving a turkey on the podium. The remainder of each podium gets a chicken and a Cornish game hen, respectively. So they're not only racing for positions, points, trophy, as more side-by-side battling takes place between Feitsteiner and Avalos, they're also racing for potentially Thanksgiving dinner for a couple weeks, or potentially a dinner for recent times that just so happens to feature big poultry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see as well, right? And you know, the big family environment here in Whiteland, Indiana, a lot of the RVs are here this weekend, so you may even find some people even cooking out here this weekend, maybe cooking out some of the turkeys that they, like you said, are possibly giving out here this weekend. But with just over a minute to go left in this race, O'Gara still continues to extend his gaps. Taylor there in second. Again, he holds on strong. Sears, though, still locked in a battle. And again, more battling there further back. Feitstinger's going on there on the inside of what looked to be Avalos that time around. So a little bit of a mix-up still in this mid-pack fight.
Still squabbling, still fighting it out with 50 seconds now on the clock. Let's see if the squabbling continues. Avalos now in that fourth spot, but Feitsteiner all the way back to a day low sixth with how things have trimmed out. Potentially could see the 2 to go signal here. It's going to be close on that lap count. We'll see what they give at the flag stand for these drivers here as there's the choo-choo train. No moves in the choo-choo train. Drivers trying to set themselves up to be able to leap train cars here.
Yeah, nobody still making moves. And again, that talk about the trains that you see going on this back straightaway. I mean, it'll almost hurt you more to pull out a line and try and go for a move than to stay in it, right? The driver ahead of you punching a hole through the air. So that's what we're seeing now. But 2-6 in the air for Daniel O'Gara and company. O'Gara miles ahead from this field. There goes Taylor there as well in the second spot. And here comes the rest of the pack, the rest of the cavalry there as well. Third on back. Sears, Avalos continuing to fight for the third spot. Robertson, Feitstinger losing some time in fifth and sixth. And here you have the battle for third on the inside. There goes Avalos on the inside of Sears. Avalos is clear. He's up to third.
Able to make the pass to move up to third spot. Lockhart full zeros now as the white flag is out this time around. It is the final time around for these drivers. Now the battle is on to close out the run. Daniel O'Gara has already ran away by a sizable margin of already almost 6 seconds. There he is, just driving on his lonesome. Absolutely flying in this one. Second spot, the same case. Third spot, is that going to be settled on down? Avalos, Sears, along with Roberts, still in that train. No one able to jump up cars. No one able to get a pass along. Once again, too far of a separation despite the send from Sears. But expecting the checker flag this time by coming around. Danny O'Gara takes the checkered and closes out the season with a win in the final when it comes to the minis. Taylor in second. Avalos in third. Sears, Roberts, Feitsteiner amongst your top 6.
What a race here. Again, a good showing for everybody in the mid-pack to continue to fight. Hendrickson now crossing the line. Laffin crossing the line here in 8th. Simon Ellick to Andrews to King, your 11 drivers here in this mini Swift race. That was a good one and a good way to get to the halfway point here of the I should say the morning sessions, not the day yet. Coming up next, your 206 heavies, who had a pretty good showing earlier on today. We'll see if a couple of them can work their way up. That's coming up here in a couple of moments' time.
So once again, halfway through the finals this morning. Our next final, 206 heavy. It's due up in the next couple minutes. Starting to get a bit ahead of the schedule. So we'll wait and see when they get the command to roll out of the gates in 206 heavy.
Again, if you want to stay informed here at the Indy Kart Challenge, be sure to join the official Discord of Whiteland Raceway Park. So make sure to join that. If you want to stay informed with the results, with penalty boards and whatnot, they have it all there on the Discord as well. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date with new announcements. And then you have that QR code there on the bottom of your screen for Whiteland Raceway Park. Race WRP, Whiteland Raceway Park on YouTube. racewrp.com. And again, join that Discord. You get all the trusty information that you need. If you wonder how me and Justin see most of our, info, it's probably from the Discord. I know mine is for sure here, Justin. I wonder if yours is as well, but that's where I get most of my information on that Discord as well. It keeps you up to date with layouts and whatnot, even when I don't announce these races, and I'm still up to date with everything going on with and everything under the sun. So speaking of sun, the Sunset Sprints as well, another event that was held here at Whiteland, Indiana, and again, that was on our platform. So that was a cool thing to see as well, and a cool, different little racing action, I guess, that we saw on our platform here as well. But it's time to go racing here. They're 206 heavies.
206 heavy now due up. It's their fourth grouping today for the morning session of the finals. Scott Hamill, Evan McCorkadale, along with Matt Geist and Melvin Godse in your top four. Then Mikey Bolin starting fifth, Troy Toney in sixth, Jay Brian Williams, Kyle Landon, Kenneth Owens, Kevin Sabanelek, and Jack Dorsey starts at the tail. And remember, the top two pulled away a significant margin. Evan McCorkadale looking to try and solidify things. Just got an update, by the way, in terms of the micros. Right now, unofficially, Patrick McNeely getting the edge, 6 points confirmed over Reagan Hodges in the standings for the Micro Swift.
Man, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good for McNeely to be able to get that advantage. We'll see the official announcements later on today, but at least one of those champions seems to have been solidified. We already talked about some of the others come in with locks for the races. 206 heavy was amongst those not with the lock. Remember, McCorkadale up by less than 100 points over Troy Toney, needs to be able to finish a good spot to get the championship locked up here. Green, green, green. We're underway for 206 senior heavy. And the field makes its way to the opening sector already. Hamble clear and away.
Yeah, and again, Hamble, a good job to start off this race here on his own. Everybody else there further back going side by side, which is why they're losing so much time. You saw they were almost at a crawling pace when they got into a couple of those infield hairpins, and that slowed the back of them way down and allowed Hamble to kind of pull away here. But it's really time to see the methodical 206 racing action, and these drivers are going to have to push to try and close down Hamble. And if they do get up there, it's going to be just a freight train all the way through. Hamble in that Coyote machine. So a couple of car lengths between himself and the driver in second of McCorkadale. So we'll see how it plays out here in this one. But gaps already starting to close down just a little bit here, Justin.
Just a small bit right now. 0.8 the difference front of the field for the starting lap at least. Corkadale right now being the cork in the bottle for Geist, for Godse, for Bolin, and everyone else in that long, long train. We've seen that be a bit more squabbly to start things off before. Right now, Godsey trying to work with Geist to be able to close up the gap for second.
Ooh.
Now some squabbling behind. Bolin having a little bit of shoving. That was a bit of a send from Tony and company. Now it's 2x2 behind him.
What a move there by Mikey Bolin to work his way through. I know his grandma as well watching along here this morning as you know, Mikey just moved out of the house earlier on this year, so he's already kind of doing a little bit for himself and most of his family. I'm not sure if they had an idea that he was coming out here to Whiteland, Indiana to race here this weekend, but I mean, he's racing now and doing a pretty good job getting himself up to fourth. But like you said, everybody else there, Tony and a couple of others, were able to work their way through as well there on what looked to be Dorsey, if I'm not mistaken, there that as well got passed. So that's it's been a crazy race up to this point here in the mid pack, but the top four spread out by a couple of car lengths in between themselves. So we'll see if they can find each other and try and close down the gap here to Hamble, the Coyote machine, who again just had a much better start than the rest of the field who was fighting.
Still 6 minutes or so to work with on the racetrack, though. Hamble, McCorkdale, Geist, and Bolin. Now your top four. Bolin setting the fastest lap of the race last time by with how things have paced themselves out. Keeping an eye on that red cart. Can Bolin make things interesting? Right now, Hamble having a convoy starting to keep up with him down these straightaways.
Yeah, we'll see what Mikey Bolin can do. I mean, he's not the most aerodynamic either. You see how tall he sits in the seat. So we'll see how it all plays out here for Mikey. And again, that's one of the big things, especially when you get onto a back straightaway that's so long, like the one we have here in Whiteland, Indiana. So for Mikey Bolin, we'll see how it kind of plays out here in this one. It still sits in fourth and seems to be closing down his gap. We'll take a look at the lap times this time around as well to see how they kind of stack up here. Hamill, again, the driver in the lead of this race, a 52.2 the last time around. For McCorkindale, a 51.9, so that was 0.3 quicker that time around. So he's going to close down his gap. The second fastest driver on the racetrack is Mikey Bolin in the fourth spot with a 51.923 as well. So the two quickest drivers are the drivers in second and fourth on the racetrack now. When you see those gaps start to close down here, Justin, we're just at the halfway mark here as well. So still a lot of racing action getting set to come your way.
Absolutely. Still plenty of time to go in the action. Still two other races, but this race still continues on. Corkdale working their way. Now coming around. Corkdale still now closing the gap back up, stays within 2 kart lengths. Be able to go now through the sky, or rather through the track. Still staying in line. 4 minutes to go, and it almost feels like for Corkdale, this is almost a hard buffer to close up. He gets close, but not close enough to be able to lunge. We've seen this in the last race before things separated out at the end.
Yeah, and you see the gap starting to close down as well here. McCorkindale continuing to close down his gap, and along with them, I mean, Geist closing in really quickly here, and for the Texan, Mickey Bolin, I mean, he's in the fourth spot here, right, and still closing down his gap here a whole lot. Fastest lap of the race, so it goes to Geist, a 51.781. So lap time is continuing to improve here, Justin, and we'll see how this kind of plays out as we get to the end here. Still closing in a whole lot, so we'll see what they can do. Already a lot of slipping and sliding throughout that right-hander. But, man, yeah, the gaps are closing down here, so we may have a fight on our hands here in this next lap with 3 minutes to go. McCorkindale officially now arriving on to the rear bumper of Hamill.
Now trying to line it on up, trying to find a way to poke. Still no place to be able to get alongside quite yet at this point. Now they get squared away for the second sector. Corkadale looking for the lineup, looking for a place to go, take the run with the cavalcade. Right now, Geist losing a bit of ground with Bolin. That train down to 4. Corkadale still in setup mode, and they usually see the setup mode until the 2 lap to go point. Don't blame them for not going quite yet for the pass.
Yeah, and again, still sitting there patient. Drivers in 3rd and 4th, still closing down. I mean, this race is starting to get a lot closer, for Hamill. Too close for comfort now in between himself and McCorkindale. So we'll see how it kind of all plays out. Still, everybody closing in and getting much, much closer together. So 1, 2, and 3, still single file. The driver in 4th for Bowling still in tow there as well. We'll see a minute and a half left to go in this one. McCorkindale may have a really good shot here on the back straightaway when he gets down to it. So we'll see how it stacked up that time around. As it stands here, they haven't crossed the timing loop, so still Hamill in the lead of this race, and indeed McCorkindale still in 2nd there. Geist closing in, and for Mickey, again, he closes down in the 4th spot.
Still more than a minute to go on the clock, though. Chess match continuing on, the plotting and planning. Geist is going to be one of those that could be interesting. Can he do anything to pass by these 2 karts here and change the equation, so to speak, of this chess match?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, still a lot of racing left at hand, right? When you see those 2-6 go up in the air, I think everybody's going to be brought right back into play here. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all within the same picture here on your screen. Again, from McCorkindale, if you see this race kind of continue to play out, I think it may be time to go here shortly. Hamill just seems to have the upper hand, and with drivers like Geist and Bowling starting to close down their gap, this is getting very, very close here. Too close for comfort, maybe for McCorkindale. If he doesn't try and go for a move here in a couple of moments, it's going to get really, really close here, Justin. 3 laps to go this time around when they get onto the back straightaway.
Clock reaching zeros. Now McCorkindale, will this be the time to strike? The answer is no. Backs up, if anything. Hamill sends it deep to be able to build a buffer once again, back for the 180. Now still,
that was a good move there as well. Sorry there, Justin. That was a good move there as well by Mikey Bolin to get a move done there on the back straightaway as well. And he's going to get himself up in the 3rd now with 2-6 coming up in the air this time around.
Coming around, double flags this time around. Bolin up to 3rd. And now we'll see what plays out here. Is this the go sign for the 19 kart? Is this the time? Has to be. Especially since Bolin is pushing hard behind. Now down to straightaway, the drafting section. Corkadale each time has not elected to try a lunge. Does not have position to try and send it this time either. Coming up to the final laps here. Coming up to the final stretch, but Corkadale still has not been able to eat that little tiny buffer to be able to get alongside for a pass attempt.
Yeah, we'll see this time around, side by side from the top 2. McCorkindale and Hamill starting a fight here. White flag in the air the final time around for Mikey Bolin. He's going to start to close down his gap there in the 3rd spot. And I'm sure the entire support section for the Texan watching on from home and watching on trackside as well this weekend. So we'll see the top 3 within the same picture. Bolin sits there in 3rd. The top 2, Hamill and McCorkindale, going to fight it out. McCorkindale going to look for a move there on the inside. Is he going to go? Bolin looks to get one done. He's up on the inside of McCorkindale now, and up in a second. Mikey Bolin gets it done. Hamill, the next driver on script here for him. He's in the lead of this race. Final couple of quarters coming your way. Mikey Bolin and Hamill, the Coyote machine and the new gen machine of Mikey Bolin. It's going to be a drag race all the way to the finish line here, Justin. Who is it going to be?
Coming to the checker flag. Hamble holds on. Bowen second. It's Geist. McCorkindale gets shuffled to fourth at the very end. And how about that finish? Once again for Hamble, holding off a hard-charging Bowen. Bowen, one of the fastest karts on track, close out the run. And based on the point tallies, that could very much solidify things, regardless for McCorkindale for the title, despite getting shuffled with Geist there at the very end.
Yeah, that was a very crazy race from start to finish. And that was, a good end to that race there, Justin. I mean, we saw it all, right, from start to finish. A couple of drivers working their way through. For Mikey Bolin to get himself up in a second, that's a pretty good finish to finish on the podium in his first time here at Whiteland, Indiana. And I'm sure his one of his friends, George Ruiz, who he came out here with, is going to be happy to see that. A second place for them on their way back to Georgia later on tonight. Scott Hamble, your big winner here in 206 heavy. Matt Geist in third. Evan McCorkindale and Troy Toney, your top five here.
Let's look top to bottom once again at the running order. Gansey, Dorsey, Williams, Landon, Simon, Ellick, and Owens. The rest of the running order for 206 heavy. Two more run-throughs to go. K.A. Jr., 206 light are due up next. K.A. Jr. just about ready to hit the racetrack here. And those K.A. Juniors put on some phenomenal racing earlier on. We'll see how the racing plays out here for our second to last final of the morning. So as they roll around on the racetrack, here's a look at how they run here. Ryan Mort on the pole. Mason Gallion had some intense battling at the start of the last race. Ended up losing 5 seconds at the end of Mort. Dan Van Dyke, AJ Stoner, Lucian Laser, Evan Patton, your top three rows. Then Thomas Anthony rounds out the lineup. Do we see what Mort did again? Or does somebody change up the equation? What do you do to change up that equation after the long run speed Mort showed in the last race? Well, on that point, getting ready to double up here.
Well, my apologies there, Justin. I was talking that entire time and I was muted. So that's my fault there. My apologies. But I was saying, Ryan Mort, again, has a lot of pace at hand, and he has a really good piece at hand as well. So it's the home track of the MPG Academy boys. So, again, expected that Mort has a lot of pace at hand here today. And we'll see how it plays out in this main event as they get into the tram lines.
All set to go for the KA Juniors. Green, green, green. We're underway. Ryan Mort already trying to clear himself. Does a bit of a slip and slide. But the battle's on for second. Gallion. Van Dyke getting a little bit feisty with the elbows. Getting a little bit aggressive there in terms of some of the early battling with some of the side-by-side.
And you look at this, Ryan Mort absolutely checked out from the rest of the field here in the battle for second, starting to heat up. Gallion, Van Dyke as well there. The drivers in second and third starting to fight it out just a little bit. Stoner and Laser as well. They're further back, and we'll see how they all stack up when they cross the line this time around. And you see what it took for Ryan Mort, what it was going to take for them to stop him. And I think whatever they thought has definitely been thrown out of the window here. Stoner, the driver in second, Van Dyke up to third, Gallion down in fourth, Anthony, Patton, and Laser.
They continue to rumble their way around the racetrack at this point. Still less than 8 minutes to go on the clock as you see the battle involving Gallion and Van Dyke. Bit of a peak once again. Now trying to get the spots back right now from the lost ground. Still able to hold on for the time being in terms of some of this aggression. Starting to really build up for third on back with some of this battling back and forth. With that, they're starting to face each other off on.
this race continuing to go on, and I mean, you talked about it, right? We'll see what they can do to try and fight here with Ryan Mort and company. Stoner as well, having pretty good pace, but the drivers there from third on back still doing a good job of it. A couple of moves here being made. Looks like Gallion on the inside of Van Dyke. He's able to get clear and out to third.
So we'll see how long that lasts now with less than 7 minutes to go in this race. More squabbling in the pack. Amongst those looking about, it looks like this time Anthony amongst those trying to make a push. Stoner setting the fastest lap. Dane Van Dyke pushed all the way back to 5th spot. In amongst this hard battling. It's continuing to build the buffer over the rest of the field. There's the top 2. There's the Hornet's Nest as the Hornet's Nest is buzzing.
Yeah, we'll see. And again, we saw what happened earlier on this year with that big B attack. Justin, I'm sure you were, I think, announcing for that race, and that was, a crazy event to say the least. But on the racetrack, talk about the Hornets. They're all starting to sting here. Everybody looking for make some moves on the inside there further back. I think Van Dyke there getting past once again. That looks to be Patty on, I think, the driver that was able to get clear.
Lots of aggression right now being showcased in this mid-pack right now with how things have gone so far. 5.5 minutes to go. Coming up on the clock. Who else will move their way around here? No changes this time by everyone staying lockstep. It seems as though this grouping, no one wants to work together. They already have cost themselves 3 seconds to the top 2 with how aggressive it's been.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what we get out of it, right? But one of the things I want to note here, Stoner is a lot closer than what we kind of expected at this stage of the race here, Justin. Earlier on today, we saw the big gap that Mort was able to put on the rest of the field, the 14, with a gap of just 9/10 of a second here is a pretty good showing this time around, and we'll see if they can keep up the pace, coming throughout this race and as it progresses. So we'll see how it all plays out here for Ryan Mort and for Stoner, but this battle, again, further back with Galley and Anthony, Patton, Van Dyke, and Laser still continuing to heat up.
Still continuing to battle it out on the racetrack right now, coming around 4 minutes to go. So far, calm racing continuing on here. I have to say for Ryan Mort, that kart's been laser fast all day. It's been difficult to stop him long run. He's putting on the long run pace again.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's been a really good showing for everybody here this weekend. And again, as we see them work their way through, still a couple of moves here. Galley and Patney and everybody still holding on to it here and still continuing to fight. I think that was that Galleon that lost about 3 spots in one corner there. Goodness gracious, that was definitely not the way that Galleon would have wanted that one to unfold. Falls back to the 4th spot. Patton was able to get through. I think Van Dyke may have gotten through as well, but Galleon did lose about 2 spots in that corner, so unfortunate there.
Three minutes to go. And still looking at how things going to go now as you see how things look with Patton and Galvin. They've now built a bit of a buffer now as a result of some of the squabbling, so to speak, up at the front of this group. Still expecting at least another 6 or so laps, give or take. Lucian Laser, by the way, also now has gained about half a second the past lap. Close up into this battle pack as well. But everybody battling out as they zip around. Not sure what that signal was there.
That's a side pod
Somebody
there,
lost
so that's a side pod. So that's a piece of bodywork there, the side pod. Somebody lost that, so somebody's going to have to find themselves off the racetrack, and I think there's our culprit here. I'm not sure if that's Anthony or who it is that's there on our screen. Again, no side pod on that. A little bit old school there, but we'll find out whose side pod exactly that was. But somebody's side pod flying off. Meatball flag coming out. Going to have to find themselves off the racetrack here in a couple of moments.
I believe that might be Patton. He's the one who crossed the stripe most recent, as it's going to be a tough pit entry for those drivers. No meatball flag served this time by, it looks like, though. Down to the final 90 seconds or so of this race, though. Let's continue to zip forward. So this is about to open up here for this third spot, it looks like. Right now, some more dives to get alongside that side podless Kart to be able to try and make some of these moves.
Yeah, and we'll see, and that driver's still not pulling off, so aerodynamically definitely not helping them out one bit. And again, probably going to find themselves with a hefty penalty at the end of it. And again, it would end up as a disqualification from the race after losing bodywork. So we'll see how it plays out. One of the new gen machines and Van Dyke going at it here. And they continue to fight here. Van Dyke finally able to get through. I believe the other driver in that was either Gallion or Laser in there as well. So that gap, that fight, still heating up here.
Still battling hard and still heating up hard is the battling still. 15 seconds on the clock. And now it's going to be the question, how do the rest of these battles fare out to close out the race? Right now, for reference, Van Dyke and Patton have lost 9 seconds to the race leader. Van Dyke still holds on. Here comes the poke from Patton. Still trying to take another swing. Still trying to take another prod. Goes to the right as now the double flags go up in the air. 2 laps to go. One car, I believe, just seen stalled out there in the middle. As now up in that spot is Patton. Patton able to make the move while the camera was turned away.
Yeah, 2-6 in the air that time around. And this is, we'll see how it all plays out here. Again, 2 laps to go left in this one for Ryan Mort, who's just checked out from this one. Stoner, again, has had much better pace this time out. But for Patton, Van Dyke, Gallion, Laser, and others, I mean, I think Laser was one of the drivers there who had issues as well early on in this one with probably the side pod that probably came off of Laser's kart there, unfortunately. But the drivers for third, fourth, and fifth still fighting for the last of the podium places here. Van Dyke, Patton, Gallion still fighting. White flag in the air this time around.
Final time around here as Mort has outright dominated this race for our second to last final of the morning. Patton now up in the third spot. We'll see if things hold on or if Gallion's able to shuffle his way back to a podium position. Some defensive lines already from Patton. He does not want to give up that hen. Able to hold on in front for third. Here comes the poke again from Van Dyke. Checker flag, Ryan Mort picks himself up a turkey. Stoner gets himself a chicken. But now coming to the checker flag, a drag race for the third step of the podium. That goes to Patton.
A really good end of the race there for Patton, able to hold on to Van Dyke. And others, I don't think yet crossing the line. Not sure, they had some sort of issue getting across. And I think, no, they were able to cross. My apologies there, but Patton able to hold on to it. Van Dyke, Gallion, your top 5 drivers. Issues for Laser and Anthony, not able to close this one out. A great race. And again, one more left here in the morning sessions. Your senior lights getting set to go out onto the racetrack.
Coming to the final grouping of the morning. should say afternoon now, as it's just crossed 10 o'clock already, 12 o'clock Eastern time, should say, for this one. So we're getting ready for the 2:06 light to close out the morning. What a morning it has been indeed amongst the racing. Take a second as they get regrouped here. The Indy Karting Challenge. Next group due up in a minute.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Final group on the racetrack. It's time for our final rotation of drivers for this morning. 2:06 light. Their final lines up like this. Jared Howerton over Braden Hebert and Braden Johnson in third. AJ Lund starts in fourth to round up the first two rows. Levi Wilbur and Gavin Baird in row 3. Row 4, Nick Patton and Keegan Day. Row 5 is Colton Kelly and Ian Stowell. Then row 6, Zachary Allen, Ryder Waldo. Gunnar Interline in 13th. Dominic Stamcone 14th. Jack Dorsey rounds out the lineup. 15 karts due up. Of note, Dorsey was a DNS in the first race. Appears to not be on the scoring for this rotation. So now we get set to go for the 2:06 lights here, Caleb. Should be some fun. We've seen some fun battling up front for the race win here.
Yeah, it's been some good battling so far, and I mean, given to what we've seen in our 2:06 classes so far today, I mean, it's going to be an exciting one. Right, Heber really, gave us a good race here in the last one. The same goes for Howerton and Lund and a couple of other drivers as well who were in the mix here today and this weekend so far. So it's going to be an exciting one, Justin, and I really can't wait for it to get going.
He was just driving into the gas station.
Just about ready to get going for this group. And we're underway for our final of the morning. 2x2, multiple rows deep, as they try and get sorted out quickly. Howerton, Heber, Johnson amongst your front rows as they zip their way through the course.
Everybody side by side there, further back for third. Heber fighting himself in a battle here. Wilbur, Lund, and a couple of others as well in that battle. But the top two, Howerton, absolutely checked out of the rest of the field. One of the AMAX drivers as well sits there in second. Looking to hold on to it. The 144 with Johnson, the driver, in second. But everybody else, Heber, again, he's getting swarmed here for third. And I think he lost even more than that. Could be down the order. My mistake, he's in fourth. So Heber lost a lot of spots here at the start. Lost two. I should say not too many, but a good spot for a couple of others. Baird, the driver that was able to get himself up to third. So a good start for him.
Great start for him after getting shuffled out with a bad start in the last race. Bad start for Heber as well with a -2 after seeing how much speed there was the kart before. But Braden Johnson looking to try and back up his wins from last time out. Looking up front, Howerton holds on to a 2-3 kart length advantage. Now it's down to 1 kart length once again as Johnson able to gain on corner entries.
Yeah, everybody's still holding on to their spot here, so we'll see how it plays out here. Howerton and Johnson still the drivers in first and second, holding on to their to their respective spots, but further back, everybody else. Again, it's just a matter of when are you going to work together? When are you going to kind of put your head down and try and push each other up to the first and second place drivers for Heber as well? You know, the key thing is staying calm here, Justin. And we talked about it earlier on today as well of what it kind of there and what was going through these drivers' heads as this race progressed. And now at this point, it's putting yourself in a groove. You know, you're 2 minutes into this race and putting yourself in a rhythm, putting yourself in really a comfortable headspace to go out there and to start to set in some good lap times, to try and close down your gaps is the key thing here. You know, whatever happened at the start of the race, you get on with it and you try and do better with it. So it's going to be critical for all these drivers to stay patient, to stay focused on the task here at hand. And so with Howerton and Johnson starting to pull away here just a little bit, it's going to be critical for everybody else to start to work together here just a little bit. Somebody went way off the racetrack there on the edge of your screen. No idea who that was, finding himself in the grass.
Yeah, that brought up a smoke show of dirt. Still, we keep on racing. We'll find out who falls down the pylon significantly. That was the cause of that puff. But here's a look at the choo-choo train. Baird has closed up to the back end of Johnson. However, Howerton's built up a bit of a buffer. What's this group? Now Baird having a bad corner. Heber trying to take advantage. Not able to get alongside Foley to make a move.
Yeah, not able to really go for the move there, and Heber still sitting in line here, but those gaps, must say, are closing in here. The drivers in third and fourth of Baird and Heber starting to close in at the rear bumper of Johnson, and I think somebody just got past there. Heber able to get up to third. Baird drops back and down to fourth.
Still 5 more minutes to go this morning. Heber now getting a bump draft as he's been able to move up a few more carts to be able to move up towards Johnson. Right now, expect Heber to be one of those pushing hard. We know how good Heber is on making passes. Speaking of passes, Lund makes one on Baird.
Yeah, Lund able to get clear that time around, and now for Howerton, I mean, being in the lead of this race isn't the best thing, especially in this class. You're going to have the drivers from second on back, Johnson, Heber, start to work together here to try and close down a Howerton here. And again, this track does have enough technical sections on this racetrack where I think Howerton can potentially hold on to his gap and try and get away. But you see how well Heber kind of sucks up to the back of Johnson here and looks to get clear. He does that time around. Heber's up to second, back up to where he left off at the end of the first heat race, I should say. And he gets himself into the second spot. For now, it's just with a second gap, 3 minutes to go. This gap is definitely closable at this point. It's just putting your differences aside and working together to try and get there to the rear bumper of Howerton here, Justin.
Still trying to zip around the racetrack at this point. We'll see as they keep on going right now. 3.5 minutes to go. Still plenty of time for these drivers to close up the gaps, close up the rally. Heber looking to close up 1.2 seconds. He is that quick and how he built a buffer. Lund now trying to lunge up the inside, makes the move on Johnson. Johnson losing a spot.
Johnson, the driver that lost out there. Lund able to get clear. Now, along with them, Baird looking to go back and get himself back in a position there. I'm not sure if it was Baird, the driver, who went off. He found himself further up the order, but one driver, again, lost out big time there after going into the dirt, taking an off-track excursion here. You look at the gaps. Heber looks like he has a lot better pace than the drivers right behind him, which isn't helping him out at all because he's not going to have that extra push that he needs to get up to the rear bumper here of Howerton. Look at the lap times indeed. I mean, Howerton, fastest lap of the race, a 50.754 compared to the 50.903 of Heber, and he's going to get past now on the inside. Lund's able to get clear.
Able to jump up even more, and this is going to help Howerton's case more and more. The more they squabble, the more they fight. 2 minutes to work with, and right now that gap still remains pretty relatively hard. You can tell Lund knows he needs to be aerodynamically quick to close up. He did set the fastest lap, but only by a 10th.
Only closing down by a 10th really isn't going to help out your charge to try and fight for a race win here. But I tell you what, it's looking a lot closer here. 9/10 of a second, and it seems to be closing even more than that on this back straightaway. Lund is absolutely flying here, Justin. You see the gap he's already put on Heber. It looks like he's turned on the afterburners here, starting to close down on Howerton. And indeed, with the fastest lap of the race, I think this time around maybe even faster for Lund as he continues to close in. 1.5 minutes to go. All to play for here for Lund.
Right now he needs to play with a lot of teamwork somehow from Heber. Heber has not seemed to want to work that much with some of these drivers today, though, with how much he's been able to try and pounce. It's 8/10 the deficit. We've seen gaps like that close in a blink of an eye before. Can that happen with less than 1 minute to go? We'll see.
Yeah, and for Heber, again, you saw him kind of make some moves early on in this race to get himself back in a good fighting position, but it seems like Lund has just a much, much better gear here on this back straightaway compared to Heber. You see Heber closing in on the exit, and he's a lot closer throughout this infield section, but Lund just has a much bigger run throughout that back straightaway. That gap closes in here as we get into the main straight now. It was at 0.7 of a second last time, maybe even closer than that this time here, Justin. And indeed, at 0.5 second, what a flyer here by Lund, 50.505. Goodness gracious. AJ Lund, are you kidding me here? Absolutely flying. Will probably be in contention for a race win here in a couple of moments. 2.5 laps to go, I should say, left in this race. The 2.6 will be up in the air. Next time around, Lund with a huge draft on this back straightaway. And I'm telling you what, I think indeed that gear much longer than everybody else's out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, especially with how things are looking right now. It could lead to an exciting finish. We'll have to see. This time around, Howerton over Lund. Lund trying to push aerodynamically. They come around with the double stick. Baird in fourth. Double flags up in the air that time by as now they zip through. Lund needs to close up now 0.3 to have a shot. Heber still waiting in the popcorn seat, just riding the waves as they close the deficit.
Yeah, and again, we talked about the gaps, and again, it seems like just in that infield section going on the back straightaway, Howerton's able to keep Lund at bay, and this is really the strong suit here for Lund. He closes in on that back straight, but this is where he loses just that little bit of time compared to Howerton here, and this is where Heber gets a lot closer to AJ as well. So we'll see if AJ could really find a good happy medium to try and get up and closer to the rear bumper here of Howerton, but with the white flag in the air this time around, the last lap underway now, AJ Lund's going to need a lot of work to try and get a Howerton, but he's closer than he's ever been before this time around. Heading into the corner that is going to set him up for the back straightaway. AJ Lund is going to have a monster run here on the back straight, tucking on the inside. Looking at Heber sitting in that popcorn spot. Looking to make a move here.
Looking to make one more lunge after a bit of contact with the bank curve. Lund tries to hold on. Howerton looks over the back end, crosses left, looks for crossover. Here comes Heber. He tries to pass them both side by side for a moment. Now back in line, goes up in front Lund. Heber trying to get a better apex. 3 wide for a moment. Coming to the checker flag. Here comes the line. It's Lund who wins in a drag race over Heber and Howerton by less than 1/10 of a second.
What an end to that race. AJ Lund turned off the afterburners there and was able to get it done there in the end. Heber across the line second, Howerton to Baird to Johnson. What a way to finish this morning run group of sessions here, Justin. That was insane from start to finish. I mean, they had to really play that out and wait for it all the way through. And for Heber as well to get himself up in a second, almost in a chance for a race win, that was insane.
Some intense racing, to say the very least, as they come across the stripe once again. Remember, Braden Johnson in line potential for the championship. Levi Wilbur finished dead last. He was one amongst those who, if he had a good run here and outran Johnson, could very well win the championship. Unofficially, with how things look here, it appears to be Braden Johnson who might have gotten the edge in the 206 Senior Light Championship in the end, with no Elijah Fox here. Lund, Heber, Howerton, the top three. Bear, Johnson, the top five. Day, Stowell, Patton, Kelly, all with Stancombe, Allen, Waldo, Interline, and Wilbur is dead last once again. Wilbur had a 2-point advantage over Johnson entering this race. And what a morning it's been, to say the very least, here at Caleb. That closes out the morning's final sessions. Your thoughts on this morning's races?
I mean, that was really a great showing and a great way to start off this race, right? This layout providing a little bit of everything with a good technical section and a good back straightaway as well that provides a lot of passing opportunities here. Again, just a quick update for those of you here in the paddock. Make sure to become a part of the I was about to say Casey Discord. Become a part of the Whiteland Raceway Park Discord. Andy O'Gara just announced there that all morning roundup podium finishers, you are welcome to pick up your birds after the final first round feature. First place will get 1 large turkey, second place 1 medium turkey, third place 1 Cornish hen, which I have no idea what it is. We will be located at the garage door behind the main building. So again, turkeys and a Cornish hen, which I'm not familiar with at all, Justin. But we'll see. For those of you in the paddock, go pick up your turkeys and Cornish hens. But yeah, this layout really provided us with some great racing action here in the morning. A good technical infield section with a very long back straightaway that provides a lot of passing opportunities. I'm excited for the afternoon with our senior mediums and our masters drivers that are getting set to hit the racetrack.
So with that being said, it's time to take a break until about 2 o'clock. At that point, we'll be back for qualifying out from behind the paywall. 206 Sportsman, 206 Cadet, 206 Medium, 206 Junior, 206 Masters, and the KA Senior and Masters all will take to the racetrack this afternoon. Until that point, it's time to take a break. One for Caleb Fiasca, for Justin Prince, it's time to take that break. We'll see you in a bit.